subway car, bodies crushing him from all sides. A bat swoops past his face, a strange omen he can't explain. His friend Hanho sneers, mocking his failed military service. And his ex Mian. Frustration boils. But that bat wasn't fast. It hangs between them. Songwoo stares out the window, haunted by memories of Myeong. Hanho tries a stupid joke about a cloud, but Songwoo's eyes lock onto something impossible. A strange text burning through the sky. Reading down monsters, it reaches 99% of Myeong. Hanho tries a stupid joke about a cloud, but Songwoo's eyes lock onto something impossible. It reaches 99% and vanishes. Shakes the train. Dread knots in his gut. The campus looks peaceful, but he knows it's a lie. He slumps into Professor Kim's lecture hall, exhausted, and lets out a loud belch. That's when everything changes. Remains standing. Hanho offers to grab coffee, but Songwoo refuses. Professor Kim is a clock-watching tyrant. Hanho mocks him, then a strange sound cuts him off. He rushes off, leaving Songwoo alone. Climbing the stairs, his mind still on that sky vision. He reaches room 4 head. Classroom feels like a coffin. He's exhausted, fighting to stay awake. Then a translucent game window burns into reality, demanding he choose a class for survival. Panic erupts. Beep signals a countdown. The nightmare is real. The classroom plunges into absolute darkness. Songwoo can't see a thing. His phone is dead. A strange notification floats in the void. Another student confirms they see it too. A digital hourglass counts down from 15 seconds. The professor's voice cracks with terror, yelling for everyone to freeze. Might be the deadliest choice. With 10 seconds left, the countdown demands he pick a card. He has to act. With 8 seconds left, his mind spirals. Then a blinding flash, someone chooses the warrior card, and a real sword crashes down. These classes are real combat roles. He spots star ratings and lunges for the one with the most stars. The system confirms his selection. Dark energy floods his veins, like ice water in the air. The student next to him stammers in horror. He's become a necromancer. The system announces selection is over, delivering a cold farewell to those who failed to choose. The air tastes metallic. Minsu holds the real sword in trembling hands. Songwoo mutters he's a necromancer, but nothing appears. Then the first scream rips through the room. Floor, blood spraying as a small vicious creature tears into him. A goblin, it whips its head around, scanning for its next victim. Songwoo freezes in the back row. One wrong move, and he's next crashed. Students scream at Minsu to use the sword, but he's paralyzed with fear. One coward shoves his friend into the monster's path, sacrificing him Songli, only 30 pounds. But its fangs and claws are lethal. The little nightmare lunges and Songwoo braces for impact. Songwoo roars at the creature, commanding it to get lost. He brings a desk crashing down on its skull. A sickening crunch slams into his chest, claws shredding his flesh. Pain explodes. He fights through the haze, and a system notification confirms 10 goblins defeated. Gold earned. The ash. The stench of iron fills the air, and something ruthless wakes inside him. His eyes snap to a new notification. Command. A student shrieks behind him. Songwoo? And tears through reality right behind his shoulder. The bones shudder and click, assembling from the void. The shape groans, a sound from beyond the grave. Songwoo stares, shock and comprehension dawning. It's lock onto him, awaiting his first command. The newly risen skeleton warrior stands at attention. Our necromancer finally understands exactly what kind of monster he has become. The pressure only grows. The next movement is beyond. Deafening crash hurls him against the wall. Dust settles and a piercing screech cuts the air. 2 goblins closing in fast. His skeleton stands at attention, awaiting a single command. And the order comes cold, and the daughter comes up, and the dust comes up inside him. The skeleton stands at attention, awaiting a single command. Like fire. A shriek of pure terror erupts from the goblin as death comes crashing down. Bones smash against flesh with a sickening crack. A final strangled gurgle escapes the creature's throat, before Songwoo exhales. Songwoo exhales, slowly taking on. Newly risen warrior annihilated its target. All bone and brutal fury surge through him. His will alone drives these monsters to kill. These goblins have small, child-sized bodies, not exactly tough opponents. If only he had a proper weapon to join the slaughter. But instead, Minsu suddenly demands a sword from Hanho. His voice drips out. He snaps back that he wants to kill those things himself. That it's his. Songwoo calls him out, then go do it yourself. Stop begging for a weapon. A horrified shriek tears through the room as reality hits Minsu square in the chest. He stumbles back, eyes wide with terror he can't hide. Songwoo dismisses the coward with a cold jab. Just takes him speed. Hysteria spreading like wildfire. Another goblin screeches, shattering the fragile standoff. But our boy doesn't waste time on petty squabbles when real threats are closing in. A gurgling shriek signals another goblin dropping to the ground. Defeated by the silent skeleton, the notification rings in his mind. Goblin defeated self to fight, thumped closer, dragging a new presence into the blood-soaked room. Over the survivors as they turn to look. Someone stammers in confusion, their mind refusing to process the nightmare. The entire room falls into a breathless pause as the truth settles in. The skeleton stands there hollow-eyed and obedient, waiting for the next command. He apologizes flatly, telling the undead warrior that its empty stare creeps him out. So, maybe look somewhere else. Nerving promise of violence to come. The system's cold voice reminds him. He commands the dead under his authority. The weight of those words settles deep in his chest, a terrifying truth clicking into place. Hanno stammers out a question, desperate for some explanation, but our boy just shakes his head. He's not sure either of the hallway as someone cries for help. The professor frantically reports the police are unreachable, and our guy just tells him to calm down. Dawns. This chaos isn't contained. It's spreading across the whole campus. The same scene replays in every corner. The same terror grips every survivor. This nightmare is unfolding across the entire country. Our hero's mind races as he pieces together the scale. The campus is just the beginning of obvious truth. Everyone freezes, the silence sharpened by distant shrieks echoing through the halls. No one dares to say it, but terror is painted on every face in the room. A frantic voice finally shatters the silence. They can't stay here. The room erupts with the desperate cry to leave campus. Car yelling to run for the parking lot. But at the sudden outburst, Songwoo's eyes lock onto the door just as it shakes under a brutal impact. A screech tears through the air, louder and closer than before. Someone coughs, choking on the dust and fear. A guttural snarl runs round in the storm lay, that the monsters will follow regardless. Another agonized scream confirms the worst. Songwoo shouts for the panicking crowd to stop scattering so recklessly. But deep down, he realizes splitting up might actually be the smarter play for survival. A lot remains unclear, but one thing is certain, that these men can trust the battlefield for survival. A lot remains unclear, but one thing is certain, this game follows rules. Find his path forward. Monsters appear to be hunted, and each kill makes him stronger. It might seem foolish, but the more he fights, the higher his survival chance climbs. At least he's got those guys as skeletons can fight for him. A sudden flash of light blinds him as he mutters, "What the hell is this?" Materializes, its cryptic text gleaming before him. Another goblin screeches, forcing him to refocus. A swift, sharp sound cuts through the air. A single precise strike fires off without hesitation. Our boy unleashes a sudden, brutal shot. One last time, but a bone-shattering whack crushes it mid-charge, followed by a brutal final smash. The notification arrives, 10 gold received, goblin defeated. Songwoo exhales, goblin defeated. Songwoo exhales. The face is filmed. It as a status window flickers to life right before his eyes. Songwoo Yu, level 2, HP at 42, MP draining but still holding. A selection screen appears offering skill cards, stat items, or a guaranteed strength boost. The system reminds him this is the single most important choice in any game. He selects the random skill card, feeling the adrenaline spike as the wheel spins. And then the reward hits. His maximum minion count increases by 1. Thought sends a dark thrill through his veins. He glances at his skeletons and admits they don't need that much mana to function, but they're still deeply unsettling to look at. He apologizes again, asking them to please look elsewhere. The skeleton turns its vacant gaze away, but they're still deeply unsettling to look at. Sharp. One slip and he could die, but he's handling this so far. He focuses on for now. A sudden pained grunt escapes his lips as reality crashes back in. Outside, a horrific scream tears through the air as someone gets dragged down, begging for help that won't come. He realizes grimly that staying inside is actually safer than rushing down into the Ari. A sudden thought clicks into place, sharp and decisive, to take point and lead the way forward, no hesitation. With resolve. The screams outside grow distant, swallowed by the groaning building. Our necromancer steps forward, his bone soldiers clearing the path ahead. The weight of command settles into his shoulders as the female commander steps forward, and the next movement settles into his shoulders as the steps ends. The female commander steps forward for his bone soldiers to clear the path ahead. The weight of command settles into his shoulders like armor. The pressure builds as the skeletons march forward, and the next movement feels inevitable. The darkness, and Songwoo freezes mid-step, someone still alive in the rubble ahead. He spots Hanho stumbling through the wreckage, and when their eyes meet, disbelief and crushing relief battle across his friend's face. Out the synergy buff, a system reward for teamwork triggered when certain conditions are met. If he joins a party, he'll stack benefits, but this rule doesn't just apply to humans. The implication sent a cold shiver down his spine. Picked a good class, one that lets him enjoy party perks even while running solo. Hanho tilts his head, completely lost. That's when a violent crash and the screech of goblins explode from the darkness ahead. A horde charges, led by a massive snarling figure. The thing is their leader. The goblins immediately get hit with Death's Scent Stage 1. Their stats crater by 3,000 points. The debuff triggers because 4 or more skeletons of the same species gathered in Song Road. Here, a quiet, satisfied thought crosses Songwoo's mind. Maybe he got luckier than he realized with this class. A blade smashes into bone, and another screech rings out. Handover saw it. His cold gaze stays fixed on the thrashing goblin chief as his skeleton surged forward with terrifying precision. Every command flows from his mind like a personal chessboard. The wounded chief lets out a guttural roar and activates its skill. Wild Berserker, buffing every goblin under its command into mindless rage. The horde swells, veins bulging, transforming into a stampeding wall of claws. Songwoo forces himself to stay calm, locking eyes on the raging chief. An idea hits him like lightning. Instantly, he rams his strongest skeleton into the heart of the chief's guard, sending lesser goblins flying like ragdolls. The decisive move snaps into place. A blade of bone sinks deep into the chief's flesh with a wet crunch. From the wound, as the creature convulses, its defiant roar gurgling into a death rattle. The heavy silence that follows is broken only by gold coins clattering onto the tiles. Songwoo finally allows himself a breath. A stream of system notifications. Floods reveal. Jaw practically on the floor. He watches his friend dismantle a boss monster without breaking a sweat. The sheer gap in power is both terrifying and deeply awe-inspiring. He can't even find the words to celebrate. But their morale is shattered. Their cries dwindle into panicked, scattered squeals as the remaining creatures flickering in his dead serious eyes. He scans the loot. For him, this is just another step forward. A heavy silence settles over the ruined corridor. Songwoo's skeletons stand motionless, awaiting their next command. Presses down on both survivors. Hanho finally manages a shaky breath, his eyes still wide. Neither of them speaks. Those continue to pulse faintly in the corner of Songwoo's vision, waiting for his decision. The path ahead stretches into darkness, but the necromancer's army is ready. Every instant can tell him. This is only the beginning of something far worse. Time stretches, thick and unmoving. Through the possibilities of what comes next, Hanho shuffles closer, uncertainty flickering across his face. The necromancer knows they can't stay here. The goblin's death cry will attract scavengers. Silent command, and the skeletons shift into formation around them. The message is clear. They move forward, deeper into the unknown. Hanho nods, swallowing his fear. There's no turning back now. March begins. Songwoo leads the way, his skeletal escort carving a path through the debris. Hanho follows close behind, one hand on his dagger, the other gripping hope. On. No words are exchanged, but the bond between them feels sharper now, forged in blood and bone. Whatever waits ahead, the lone necromancer will face it the same way. Cold, calculated, and ready to command death itself. His cold satisfaction shatters. A shriek slices the corridor. A student's voice cracks in terror. Green bodies flood the stairwell. His spear punches through a charging goblin, but more glowing eyes ignite above. He drops through attention. Seems to be a battlefield. Down on a goblin's throat. Scene 1. Songwoo's voice cuts through chaos. He orders his undead to seal the staircase. A skeleton grips a goblin's snout, pinning it flat. The creature thrashes uselessly, those bony hands never loosening. His command rings sharp. Hold the line, don't let a single one break through. Skeletons right now. That proof is the only leverage to convince anyone to follow him into the boss fight above. A system window flickers. His dagger's synergy rocket's fatal blow chance past 1,000. Wild Flurry boosts attack speed. Final goblin collapses. A low hiss escapes before its body dissolves into ringing silence. Songwoo exhales hard, sweat dripping, shaky smile tugging at his lips. Satisfying floods is establishing. Unbelievably brave. The stairwell drops into deathly silence, survivors staring like he's beyond human, but his eyes rake the empty floor with annoyance. Not a single common monster drops loot. A notification change. A routine jobster. Ranks. Hanho snaps, reminding him not to pull reckless stunts. Adrenaline crashes, limbs heavy as lead. Songwoo turns to Jinseok, asks directly if his contribution earned trust. A garbage metaphisto flashes across the screen. The group clusters in the dim hallway, eyes locked on a massive sealed door. A trembling voice admits they cannot open it. The message on it says their only way out is defeating the boss monster. Songwoo's reply falls flat and cold. Find the boss monster? Songwoo's reply falls flat. Is through. Someone actually saw the boss. An enormous creature snatched a professor on the rooftop. Songwoo's gaze sharpens. Songwoo declares the roof is exactly where he needs to go. He scans the crowd, voice cutting through fear. Anyone willing to step up and fight? Heavy silence presses down. Not a single volunteer stepping forward. A single figure shifts forward. A girl steps out, presses her dagger into his hand, says she won't need it where they're going. She adds with cold logic that stampeding together doesn't guarantee better odds. She reminds him he already has skeletons, Blusjutsu. The ground cracked, the sky split open, and done its far head? Observer calls the plan rash when nobody knows the boss's power. Sungwoo turns to Jinseok, asks where he stands. Jinseok stammers, insists his duty is to protect the students here. He can't abandon them to chase a monster. Another tense stillness settles between the fractured group. A confused voice blurts out in surprise. The sudden shift catches everyone off guard. They're getting surrounded. Orders to 2 allies. Hold the rear, block the stairwell. Skeletons reposition in a rapid blur. A swift blade whistles through the air. Dropping a goblin, another screech faces into a wet gurgle. The fighter who delivered the killing blow exhales short. An 11's flat could overplay death as the immediate threat dissolves. One student stares at the female fighter, barely able to form words, shock and awe overwhelming him. Hanho whispers that this girl is genuinely incredible, his voice trailing off as a stunned pause linger and a wave of the plaster up. This is his face. He waves off the comment, calls for them to stop messing around and start climbing toward the roof. The hallway grips in charged silence. A frantic voice calls to a professor, demanding where the other students went. The professor crumples into his head. The labs. The professor chokes out they couldn't stay there. Fled up toward the roof, he insists he followed the evacuation protocol exactly. A horrified realization dawns. Someone gasps. Already knowing the terrible truth, the professor screams an even more terrifying monster. Every student who trusted them was slaughtered. As at Songwoo begs him not to go up. The professor's body goes limp, slumping to the floor. A system notification beeps, a new exclusive quest marker materializes. Songwoo reads the urgent text. This choice concerns his very destiny. Must be completed forever. Someone bursts into anguished screaming, demanding why they have to suffer. Hanho's voice wavers, asking if it's truly safe to climb after what they heard. A hesitant sound stalls in Samwoo's throat. The professor's raw terror searing fresh. A low contemplative hum rumbles as he weighs. The town's peace full of anguish. Forward. The rooftop door swings open. The system announces they have entered the boss room. The door seals behind them. A tense standoff fills the charged space. The nagging thought whispers cold. This fight was never something he could truly walk away from. Wu Yu and his classmates inside a death trap. A curse escapes his lips as the door swallows all hope. Weakness got them here. But he refuses to stay weak. That's when everything changes. The uneasy silence breaks as a body slams against the floor. Goblins pressing their advantage. Hanno grabs Songwoo's arm, begging to run. But Songwoo remembers the last time they ran, the price they paid. Sorry, he mutters though in the day. Sorry, he mutters. Then he unleashes Wild Berserker. Speed doubles. The goblin's shriek as raw fury ignites the air. His body, convulsing with power, becomes a weapon. What he doesn't realize yet is that this power comes with a cost. A goblin chokes on its own blood, crumples, its death cry rattling through the survivors. Jesu shouts to use the fallen as shields. But panic spreads. Someone cries for Mr. Dada as their formation crumbles. But it's completely worthless. Another scream tears through the chaos. Damn it. Then a calm voice cuts through. Easy. Huh? The confusion hangs in the air. Fallen goblin's corpse with a sickening crack. Songwoo commands his new soldier forward. The skeleton's blade finds its mark. A goblin shriek cuts short. But then the ground trembles as a massive shadow swallows the smaller goblins. Terror ripples through the horde. Stage 1. Their stats plummet by over 3,000. A cry of jolly rings out as the goblins whimper. Their boss steps forward. That's when everything changes. Forward. It has to be the boss. The goblin captain, a roar shakes the room, the shockwave pushing everyone back. Songwoo takes a deep breath. Setting his nerves, the captain bellows to kill them all. Out. Click. The captain's growl rumbles. Jisoo shouts for everyone to get back. Songwoo steps forward and with a flick of his wrist, 5 more corpses snap to attention behind him. Shouts for everyone to get back. Songwoo steps forward and with a flick of his wrist, 5 more corpses snap to attention behind him. His cold stare sweeps the battlefield like a general who has already won. The goblin captain hesitates. That moment of fear is all the necromancer needs. As corpses twitched, Hanho's jaw drops, watching his friend command the dead like instruments of a single will. This is the power they questioned him for choosing. But crap, he's used too much mana. Exhaustion creeps up his spine. The limit looms close. The goblin captain's rage explodes, shaking the entire room. Death barrels towards Songwoo. He's hurled through the air like a rag doll from the monster's path at the last second. Relief crashes over him, but that rescue bought only seconds. Jesu clicks her tongue in frustration. Her eyes narrow on the captain, trying to get to no seconds. Jesu clicks her tongue in frustration. Her eyes narrow on the captain, trying to get to no seconds. Her eyes narrow on the captain, trying to get to no seconds. Her next strike. A breathless whisper escapes someone. The captain shifts its weight. Jisoo dodges cleanly, reading the attack before it lands. Her blade tastes goblin flesh, but she was planning to cut the captain down with a single swing. Skill. She moves strategically, searches for openings. Definitely not your average student. The captain's frustration mounts. Its soldiers circle closer. Now, Jisoo springs forward. The captain staggers, pain and fury exploding from the beast. The goblins growl, but uncertainty creeps into their snarls. Their formation wavers. One of them tilts its head, suddenly confused. As it gazes at the skeleton line. Mocking, it thinks it's already won. The captain's twisted laugh suggests it thinks it's already won. But Songwoo doesn't raise a hand. It simply smiles as the ground beneath the monster comes alive with bony hands. The pressure only grows. The next move feels inevitable. Nothing changes immediately, and the scene lingers for another uneasy beat. What happens next will decide. Shattering Songwoo's calm, the shockwave punches the air from his lungs. Bony hands splinter as the captain breaks free, lunging forward, commanding his grunts to charge. Hanho's weapon slips. Jisoo's eyes snap open. A desperate gasp rapes from her throat. The blow clears as adrenaline shoves the fog aside. She pushes herself up with a guttural cry and swings wildly. The sickening crack of impact fills the air. A blazing notification sears across Hanho's vision. Warrior synergy kicks in. Stage 1. 3 swords across the ground. Synergy triggers, turning his curse into a deadly edge with an 889% bleeding chance on his first strike. He hoists a solid desk from the rubble and slams it straight into the captain's skull like a hammer from hell. The captain's head snaps back, crashing to the ground with a bone-jarring thud. Goblin grunts scramble and skitter. Their claws cling down. Goblin grunts scrambles and skitter. Their claws cling down, their deafening roar, enraged and desperate. Goblins shriek and scatter as chaos erupts. The grunts wail in agony, bodies flying from the shockwave. A deep guttural growl rolls through the captain's chest. He staggers, fury boiling as his strength starts to leap out. The grunts wail in agony, bodies flying from the shockwave. A deep guttural growl rolls through the captain's chest. He staggers, fury boiling as his strength starts to leap out. Guttural growl rolls through the captain's forward, a choked groan escaping his throat. Draws back for the killing strike, but a small voice cuts through the noise. It's time to sacrifice yourself. A soft ring echoes, then the creak of tiny bones bracing for the end. Goodbye. Thank you for everything. Brilliant cascade of bone and marrow, its final sacrifice burning brighter than anything it knew in life. Hanno screams through the falling shards, blade driving forward with everything he has. His blade sinks deep, and the captain lets out a strangled grunt. Time seems to free. A vicious gash tears across the captain's torso, blood arcing like a red ribbon. The bleeding effect triggers instantly. That monstrous 889% chance pays off. And 255 gold floods into the party's inventory. Victory rings out. Level up chimes fill the air. Hanho blurts out the question burning in his mind. What even was that skeleton before it died? Song Y? Absorb the captain's mana, and the system updates instantly. Defense massively boosted. Commander traits added. An organization synergy might even be possible depending on how many team members he has. So it's like squads, platoons, companies. Our boy's already thinking about building an army. Skin, catching Hanho's eye with a confused stare. Songwoo pulls up the minion list to confirm. Elite Goblin Skeleton, level 2, katana wielding, undead plus commander. His first real officer organizes on response. Me too, I'm level 3 now. A transparent card materializes before each of them, pulsing with raw potential. Hanho asks if he can see his cards too. Yeah, you need to pick one of 5 options. Songwoo remembers last time he chose a skill to increase his max minions. Now he picks up the battlefield again. Flashes, you've acquired the skill to create weapons from bones. His pulse quickens instantly. Swords, clubs, spears, even bows from fallen enemies. A whole new dimension of power unfolds. The notification continues. Exclusive quest, The Grudge of the Dead, completed along the Appease path. Reward granted, fate slightly altered. That mention to Fresher Kim echoes again. The hidden clue, stoke his Grudge of the Dead, completed along the Appease path. Reward granted, fate slightly altered. That mention of Professor Kim echoes again. The hidden clue, stoke is again. Limit just ticked up by 1. He can now summon 5 minions total. He tucks the thought away, resolving to be more careful with every choice from here on out. Jesu asks for a rogue's hood, her tone suddenly tactical. Hanno tilts his head, genuinely confused. Rogue's hood, she explains, it boosts her chance of hiding from monsters by 50%. And Hanno grins, he says, except she's done running. She knows how to fight now. Jisoo holds up a new item, a fire whetstone, and Songwoo leans closer, genuinely curious. No, it's not flammable and you can't use it like flint. She promised to blow at the thought. They need to get out of this place. In the other room, Jinseok paces near the barricaded door, his face twisted with barely contained rage while survivors mutter behind him. Someone calls his name cautiously, and he snaps back with venom. The question hangs in the stale air. Is it really safe for us to stay here? Lips, the fear in the room pressing down on everyone like a physical weight. Several people flinch and exchange desperate glances, but one man finally steps forward to speak. Probably should have abandoned these people long ago. Screw this. So this is what he gets after protecting everyone. You ungrateful bastard, stop talking nonsense. The crowd shrinks back, terror flickering in their eyes as his voice cracks like a whip. A woman clutches her child. Tears fix his eyes. Oh, Byok's voice rises with cruelty. I don't want to sacrifice myself for you people anymore. Then he doubles down, screaming that anyone with a complaint can leave or they can go up to the roof and die a pitiful death like that bastard Songwoo. You don't own this place, I'm the one protecting us, is the guy who went to the rooftop. The accuser locks eyes with Jinseok and refuses to back down. Ash, what'd you just call me? I called you a piece of shit. What are you gonna do about it? You think Songwoo is protecting you? He went to the roof like a moron. and died. Lucky and got exactly what he deserved. Silence swallows the room. No one breathes. Why are you so quiet now? Are you scared? A new voice cuts through the tension like a blade. Who'd you say died? Jinsok stumbles backward, a pathetic squeak escaping his lips. Calm. What did you want me to die? A system alert freezes everyone in place. The barrier is sealed and the boss has a magical door. Take it down or you'll never reach him, and the monsters inside keep getting stronger. Cold dread grips everyone inside. Corrupted text unreadable. Trembling, Jinsok shakes his head in disbelief. No way. One of the survivors stares at Jinsok, voice trembling with horror and disgust. Han-Ho's glare turns razor-sharp, demanding the truth he's still hiding. Song-Woo Yu, the Lone Necromancer, watches his so-called ally crumble under pressure, and the group's fragile trust begins to crack. Scene 1A survivors scream. Shadow's frantic league crumbled into pressure. Goblin packs clearly rampaged here, but where did they vanish? Han-Ho spots movement through the trees and shouts a warning. Shadowy figures emerge from the tree line, and Song strides out of the darkness flanked by his armed crew. That sounded overdone. Shadowy figures emerge from the tree line. He and his group fought hard and survived. Jinseok's face ignites with desperate relief. He calls Daeseong's name like a prayer answered. Hano mutters under his breath that the student council president himself has arrived. Daeseong's polished shoes clatter over the debris, pulling every gaze his way as he steps forward from the debris. Daeseong's polished shoes clatter over the debris. He calls Daeseong's name like a prayer answer. Hano mutters under his breath that the student council president himself has arrived. Daeseong's polished shoes clatter over the debris. That's what he Seongwoo is singled out. Oily, it practically drips with self-importance. He launches into a grand speech about shared hardship and fighting back, promising total safety to anyone who falls in line behind him. His gaze drops to the undead soldiers and with feigned curiosity. He asks what those foul creatures are. He twists the knife, suggesting Shangwu chose monsters that kill, as if he's the real danger. Then, Daeseong delivers his ultimatum: destroy all those monsters or you'll never set foot in his group. Songwoo's voice stays calm, but the steel beneath cuts clean. He asks flat out what happens if he refuses. Daeseong recoils with the actual disgust. How could anyone stop that Death-Taker from refusing? Loads, then falters. Well, honestly, they are a little unsettling. Jisoo jumps in, insisting they're cute, then desperately shushes everyone before the noise brings worse trouble. Songwoo shuts it down, destroying his soldiers. Meanwhile, on unarmed in the cellscape, is guaranteed suicide. Puffing his chest, his group will provide all the protection Songwoo could ever need. Chance. Obey him and destroy the monsters. Our hero just laughs in his face. Who died and crowned this guy king? Hanho fires back that nobody ever begged to join this circus. Hiding behind a student council title doesn't make him important. It makes him a thing in life. Songwoo by questioning some meaningless department rep title. Songwoo dismisses it with cold finality. Titles mean nothing when the entire college is already a graveyard. Daeseong's mask slips completely. He throws it up. Bomb. You think I don't know about your embezzlement? The fake event company, the fabricated receipts from the festival. You're a complete fraud. Daeseong's face drains bone white as the truth detonates in front of the whole group. His fists clench at his sides, trembling with fury he can barely swallow. After them about synergy effects and certain death, his voice cracking into desperation, leaving the humiliated president gaping in the dust. Not a single glance back. Jisoo asks what on earth happened between Shangwoo and that president. Hanho answers plain as day. He's just a complete asshole. He lays it out. A rich, spoiled brat who only showed up to prey on girls. Songwoo absorbs every word, then declares exactly what that man is. A piece of shit. Jisoo refocuses them. Their first priority has to be escaping this campus before something deadlier finds them. Songwoo strategizes out loud. Avoid crowded areas, the monsters hunted for it. He proposes they skip the buildings entirely. There's a footpath along the hill that leads straight to the main gate. The group slips onto the tree-lined path, their footsteps swallowed by fallen leaves. A cold wind slices through, carrying a silence so unnatural. It sets out from time enough. Long, heavy and suffocating, like the world is holding its breath. Songwoo halts dead in his tracks, his instincts prickling with a familiar creeping dread. Jisoo opens her mouth to ask, but he silences her with a sharp, Urgent gesture. A low rumble vibrates up through the earth. Songwoo halts dead in his tracks, his instincts prickling with a familiar creeping dread. Jisoo opens her mouth to ask, but he silences her with a sharp, urgent gesture. A low rumble vibrates. Only one figure remains standing. Thud of something massive booms between the trees, and the entire group freezes mid-breath. And cold sweat breaks across every face. A colossal shadow swallows the whole path, and two glowing red eyes snap open in the darkness. The orc's war cry rips through the woods as it charges, the ground trembling beneath every stomp. Jisoo screams, her voice cracking with raw terror. This thing dwarfs. Songwoo grits his teeth. The escalation just never stops. The beast roars with primal fury, its weapon raised high to pound them into paste. Dark energy crackles around Songwoo's clenched fist, as a skeleton snapped to attention, bracing for the impact of the battlefield. Chief bellows its challenge. Instead, a hungry grin twists across his face. That monster just volunteered to be his next skeleton. He points, staking his claim, a snap of his fingers. The beast shakes off the pain and roars like a wounded titan. A skeleton drives a club into the orc's knee, popping the joint with a wet crack. Songwoo barks for a wall to block its path. A massive orc corpse crashes to the dirt. A savage slash sends blood erupting like a dark fountain. Hanho stammers, terrified he's about to lose an arm to fuel that power. But Songwoo's already scanning the terrain. Songwoo shouts for Jisoo to reach higher ground before the whole area collapses. She triggers dash and blurs out of the strike's path. He warns everyone to fight with the same tactics that brought down the goblin chief. A deep, menacing rumble rolls from the orc's throat. It lunges with a grab attack, massive claws reaching to crush Jisoo's weight as much as the fastened. He orders her to stick to the plan. His skeleton soak the damage while he juggles his mana. The orc snarls furious gibberish as the bone puppets refuse to shatter. He mutters that charging in blind would be suicide. Jisoo nods, outdoors on. She explodes forward, her weapon aimed for the killing blow. She roars a vicious war cry. The blade sinks deep into the orc's chest, but a second booming roar answers from the flank. Jisoo screams as fangs chomp into her shoulder, and starts feeling the battlefield. She roars a vicious war cry. The blade sinks deep into the orc's chest, but a second booming roar answers from the flank. Jisoo screams as fangs chomp into her shoulder, and silence as fangs chomp into her shoulder. A skeleton locks an iron neck hold. A sickening crack. The orc's neck snaps. Then an entire warband answers the dying chief's call, shaking the forest. Cries merge into a single terrifying tide. The horde surges forward, axes raised, baying for human blood. They charge with such force the trees explode into splinters. A shockwave rattles loose stones from the cliffside. One mangled orc slumps in the middle. 110 gold for defeating an orc patrol leader. Xiangwu raises an eyebrow. That beast was just a patrol leader. He mutters it was tougher than a grunt, but nowhere close to a real boss. He shoots Jisoo a sly grin. They actually make a pretty solid team. Feels out of reach. He asks Jisoo what class card she snagged. She tells him she picked the Tiger Hunter, a beast hunting specialization from the Joseon dynasty. Only 3 stars as she liked the card's color. She's the only one stuck with a 1-star class. His mana surges back to full, so he decides to test a fresh batch of necromancer skills. He pulls up the bone weapon creation menu: sword, club, spear, bow. He wonders if the club, being higher level, might pack a nastier punch back together, forging Cruz's falls. A new synergy flashes. Recklessness of the barbarians, equip 5 bone weapons and damage skyrockets 30% while injured. Another chimes in. A club a day keeps the doctor away. 5 clubs stack a 50% faint chance. In other words, he stares at the club, frozen by the image of his own severed limb. Loner. But they both saw how insanely powerful that synergy was. They descend deeper into the forbidden zone. The air thickens. Songwoo whispers a warning. Orcs are closing in. A massive door sealed by swirling runes hums with menacing power. Cars form a deliberate barricade, funneling them toward the only way forward. Songwoo reads the grim rule: defeat the boss to unseal the door. If they don't kill it, and Time Luno's soul leaves his body. Again. 8 minutes until the orc hunting party launches. The system warns them an orc squad is starting a scent-tracked hunt. Jisu's pulse spikes, but Xiongwu flips the horror into a strategy, a small EDP. Nostrils flaring, bloodshot eyes zeroing in on them. It bellows a challenge. Hanho's gaze whips to a spot in the distance where the student council group got erased. Cold dread slithered down his spine. Peak synergy wins, not head count. The first wave crashes through the tree line. 5 orcs, slick with rust and hunger. Bone meets iron in a savage frenzy. Songwoo hangs back, scanning the chaos, then a sly grin spreads across his face. Equation. He breathes out, almost giddy. Not running. A trap. He points to the natural choke points. The land itself becomes their deadliest weapon. And the orcs thunder into the kill zone. Hanho's scream tears through the chaos. 7 o'clock, Songwoo bellows, yanking every orc eye toward him. To the funnel, bloodlust blazing, but the hunter's roar rattles the rubble, fear splintering its voice. Hanho taunts them deeper into the death trap. Scene 1, Jisu's sword flashes from nowhere. A single slash that seems to come from every direction. Jagged wall, bone crunching. A chunk of stone catches the lead hunter's skull. The next orc trips over its twitching body. Another body slams into the barricade. The frame buckling, Jisu cleaves through the maelstrom. Every slash a lethal verdict. Opening and shouts the command. The final ambusher crumples. Gold flashes, confirmation of the kill. A surge ignites in his veins. Level up. Raw power, and that cold, addictive rush of survival. Our boy rolls his shoulders, power humming through him. He's stronger now, but the night still bares its teeth. 7 minions he can command, but 50 mana points is nowhere near enough. A grin splitting his exhausted face. Finally, a skill of his own. Central high-speed slash, a dagger-locked technique. Our rogue finally has a real bite. Songwoo turns to Jisu, scanning for any glimmer of new strength. She chose strength to devastate his bite. Songwoo turns to Jisu with pain. Appointment. No flashy skill, only the quiet burn of raw power. Hanho counts gold with a wide grin, but Songwoo's eyes sweep the darkness. Already hunting the next threat, a scream cuts through the silence. Another survivor pocket pinned in a barricaded room. 7 orcs hammering the walls. Window, a terrified figure jabs a shaking spear. The orcs are toying with their prey, laughing. For it to stop, but the orcs' fists just pound harder. Their war chant drowns every last shred of hope. Hanho mutters the grim math. 7 orcs, a small trapped group. No way out. Jisu's voice cuts flat. They don't stand a chance. Trembling spear is nothing but a toothpick against armored hide. Let's help them. Songwoo's decision hits the air like a blade unsheathing. He outlines the plan. Hit the orcs from the rear wielder. Pins the battlefield. Seals their fate. But doubt creeps in cold. Trusting a cornered stranger is a gamble that can get everyone killed. Hanho's voice spikes, especially people who are frightened. Fear turns humans into unpredictable weapons. His face, and without another word, they move into position. The plan snaps into motion. Songwoo's team moves like ghosts through the rubble. They have no idea death is closing in from behind. Every step is silent, every breath held. The spear wielder braces at the window, waiting for the signal. The coordinated assault tears through the orc ranks. Caught between 2 fronts, Jisu's blade finds its rhythm, and Hanho's new skill flashes in the dark. The survivors inside the room watch in stunned silence as their tormentors crumple. The last orc roars in defiance, but it's too late. A final crushing blow. The survivors stare in disbelief as the threat vanishes. Blood pools on the floor, and the only sound is ragged breathing. Silence falls. Now, Songwoo feels the cold rush of another victory, but the night still holds more horrors. He turns, already scanning the shadows for the next fight. The chapter closes, but the war is far from over. His face. Hanho's caution barely registers after swords rain from the sky. This machine is just another impossible miracle. He shrugs off the doubt. The truth's waiting the second they pull that lever. But what secret does this roulette hold? That grin doesn't fit his chest. This spin could rewrite his entire survival. Hanho checks their stash and almost chokes. 1,552 gold. That's enough to risk the silver roulette. But Songwoo reveals the real weapon, a single unlimited rank roulette ticket, gleaming in his inventory. To cash in the reward from that hidden hunting achievement he unlocked back in the lobby. He slaps the ticket onto the console like a gambler who's already tasted victory. Locking on to the gold roulette, the screen flashes. Gold grade roulette and 552. Starter stop blinks, demanding his choice. Song-woo hits start with a trace of hesitation. The wheel spins with a crisp tick-tick and slams to its head. The wheel spins with a crisp tick-tick and slams to its head with a crisp tick-tick and slams to its head with a crisp tick-tick and slams to its head. As into crystal clear truth. A top-tier first-rate piece of equipment materializes. In this hell, luck outweighs every stat. The interface details the prize. Tear of the Sea Spirit. Legendary grade or broke. 300 extra mana and a mana recovery boost so high it nearly breaks the game. Hanho's jaw hangs open. His friend literally called his shot. He practically begs Song-woo to spin silver next, bouncing like a kid. Song-woo smirks. Why is his friend more hyped than he is? Hanho slaps the silver button and lands second place. Vanguard, Shield, and Expedition leader. But then he checks his own personal pull, complaining he alone got junk. Still, those potions might keep someone alive. Back to the sports field. People are still dying out there, shouldn't they intervene? He half jokes about bringing the convenience of civilization to those savages again. But Song-woo's grin twists darker. This time he's bringing the convenience of civilization to those savages again. But Song-woo's grin twists darker in her absence. Desperate cry cuts across the carnage, searching for any shred of hope. Dae-seong barks orders, trying to rally his scattered team just to carve out a single escape route. Another voice shouts, "There are survivors pinned in the stands above the slaughter." Someone calls out a name, 7 at Olai, but the chaos swallows every word, them to forget the trapped. This is not the time to worry about anyone else. Jin-seok and Hyungmin to form a desperate front line. One shield-bearer grunts in confusion as a massive shadow swallows him whole. His voice dies into a choked gasp. An orc fist clamps around his torso. The poor guy shrieks as he's yanked off his feet and slams into the dirt like a rock. Some lunatic is farming gold from orc kills, cackling as notifications flood his vision. Another 50 gold rings out. This guy treats the apocalypse like a jackpot. A bus rumbles onto the scene, and a frantic voice screams for everyone to pile in. Suddenly realizing they should have followed Song-woo instead of running, Hanho faces down the exact same orc that crushed him before. Not this time he is ready to return the pain. The orc roars, recognizing the prey that once crawled away, like a boulder. But Hanho roots his feet and catches the blow with a defiant grunt. A living bulwark, he screams in savage triumph. No more getting tossed around. He meets its power head-on. Beast off balance with raw force. That's the cue. Song-woo's command pierces the air and a summoned skeleton blade finds its mark. Song-woo's order slices through the noise and the blade carves into the orc's flank. It staggers, savage strength draining away. Piercing shriek signals something far deadlier descending. Eye-splitting skulls across the field. People below scream in primal terror. Panic explodes all over again. One of Dae-seong's men can't believe what he's witnessing. Song-woo's efficiency operates on a completely different level. An observer gapes on to be the man that just instincts heavenly and explodes. Stepping into danger, his skeletons locking down every approach. Roll. A brute strength fighter feels his entire build become obsolete. Just dumping points into muscle was idiotic. Whispers spread like fire. What kind of person was this guy before the world fell apart? Everyone's asking the same thing. This man is a complete anomaly. Song-woo's cold game, from creepy monsters like his skeletons. Dae-seong stammers, dressing his cowardice as a strategic retreat to reorganize his team. Bus. Let's see if the survivors inside buy that excuse. Dae-seong grinds his teeth in helpless frustration. Volcanic rage. The entire hunt has failed because of one necromancer. The chief slams his weapon into the earth, shaking the ground beneath everyone's feet. The chief's enraged howl rocks the battlefield. But the bus is leaving. His orders can hop on right now. Their resolve shatters. They scramble after him like desperate dogs. Song-woo's smile doesn't waver. He'll protect them, but it'll cost. He's no student council charity. This is the New World Order. Song-woo just stripped a man of his armor. Now a notification chimes. Mid-level monsters unlocked. He claims the skill card, boosting his army to 9. His skeleton righty lumbers an oversized chainmail. The bus is crammed. They'll need a second vehicle. Scene 1. Song-woo scoffs. No second bus needed. Strides to the door and commands the panicked crowd. They're engaging the orc horde head-on. The orc chief declared total war. No mercy, no prisoners. The quest leaves no loophole. Kill the leader or die trapped on campus. A trembling man stammers he saw 100 monsters at the gym. Dread crashes over the survivors. 100 orcs feel like a death sentence. Someone whimpers. They can't fight monsters like that. Panic erupts. Over 100 orcs. They're doomed. Calmly. After all the fighting, far fewer than 109 remain. Then he drops the bombshell. He'll fight them alone. A weapon in a coward's hand is useless baggage. Hando's jaw drops. Has he lost his mind? Our boy doesn't flinch. A bitter voice snarls. Call him a lucky bastard. Let him dig his own grave. The insult slices through the air. But Songwoo's gaze is already fixed on the orc-infested horizon. Another survivor protests. Even altogether, it's impossible song by Sean Wayne. They're helpful, just not as fighters. This fight is too dangerous for amateurs. He's made his decision. Jisu's heart races. This isn't like him. Suicide mission. Outside, orc war banners snap under a crimson sky. The ground trembles as hundreds of armored boots march. Hanho whispers, barely believing it. He grits his teeth. His mind, but his foot hovers over the gas, ready to ram in and extract. Hanho calls out, his voice cracking with desperation. Then a deep guttural growl rumbles from the orc ranks. Team U! A thunderous roar shakes the air. The chief's voice's song work. Every instinct screams mid-level boss. The chief bellows, veins bulging, rage igniting. Righty and the Skeleton Legion snap into an unbreakable shield wall. Songwoo orders, they'll hold the line right here. At the stairs, he repeats, voice like iron. Field. The stairs form a natural choke point. A miniature gorge where numbers mean nothing. Songwoo turns to his skeletons with a grim smile. It's been fun, boys. Don't forget me, even after your dust. The orc chief eruption drifts out. Speed triples. The chief's body tears itself apart, muscles rippling, veins glowing like lava. On the bus, survivors scream. What is that thing? The chief's axe crashes down, spider webbing the ground. A skeleton crumbles into the blow, wildly in a frenzy. The berserk giant swings to split the earth, but our boy slips through like smoke, a blur of lethal precision. His blade screams downward. Hiya! A brilliant high-angle slash powered by full body weight and surging mana. A notification place. The chief's health chunk powered by full body weight and surging mana. A notification blaze through those of the other. But our boy slips through like smoke. A brilliant high-angle slash powered by full body weight and surging mana. A notification blaze through the earth. Teeth and axe. Songwoo weaves magic. Lightning strike. The bolt tears through the air. The chief bellows in agony as electricity cooks his flesh. The tension spikes. Wait. His voice drops like a guillotine. It's not that orc's turn yet. A towering orc freezes mid-charge, an invisible chain yanking its soul. Its eyes bulge with primal terror. Forward, black energy coiling around his fingers. The very air howls as the dead answer. His necromancer authority speaks. Command the fallen under your will. The fallen rise, a tide of bleached bone. Surging from the dirt, crashing into the orc lines. Behind him, the bus engine roars. Hand him the bus engine roars. The spider and a tide of bleached bone. The bus engine roars, hand him the boat's by. By the necromancer's terrible glory. Orcs swing, but their blades find only unyielding bone. The skeletons never tire, never feel pain. Orc steel shatters against, dragging shadows pieces back together. The green tide buckles under a nightmare that never stops above. Pushes to his knees, his berserk rage gutted. His great axe slips from numb fingers, raw despair twisting his monstrous face. Songwoo steps closer, voice dripping with cold satisfaction. Yes. Good. Now crawl. This is how a necromancer fights. Absolute mercy is an unfound angle. Shockwave blasting orc and skeleton apart. Songwoo's icy satisfaction curdles. Recognition hits like a punch. Songwoo must have unlocked insane new abilities, but our protagonist just smirks every option weighed. Scene 1, Songwoo rips the words from his throat. He's overflowing with mana. Storm of crackling power. Even he looks genuinely shocked by what's flooding his veins. The sheer pressure forces Hanho to shield his eyes. Is this the true power of a legendary item? Dread settles over Songwoo's face as the question hangs in the air. Me, what's coming for him? The scent of death. Stage 1. Activates. A chilling pressure descends like an invisible shroud. Me still standing, squeezing the fight right out of them. The orc chief freezes mid-step, primal instincts screaming at him to flee. But pride won't let him turn tail. Confusion flickers across his monstrous face as his body betrays him. Confusion flickers across his monstrous face as his body betrays him completely. The curse escapes his lips as his legs lock up without warning. He's trapped. Righty. Songwoo's command slices through the tension, like a blade. Base. Now it's your turn. Heh. Righty explodes into motion, a blur of jagged bone and murderous intent closing the gap instantly. The orc chief, cornered against a crumbling wall, bares his tusks in a defiant snarl. Nowhere left to run. Lance won't save him. Enemy. The single word drops like a hammer as the skeleton locks onto its target. Crack. Splitting force. The chief staggers, tusks scraping stone. What the hell is happening to him? His vision swims as strength drains from his massive frame, like water. This up. Our boy's voice carries the weight of absolute, unquestionable authority. The end is near. A final devastating blow sends the chief crashing down. He crumbles into the dust with a dying groan, then notices a notification blinking before his eyes. Whew. Oh? Huh? A roulette ticket for killing 100 monsters. He's the 21st. People. His mind races, already calculating. Is this current worldwide? But before he can dwell, Vern, the ground shudders beneath his feet, cutting his racing thoughts clean, in half of military. Erupts behind him. Those fools tried to bypass the orc chief and escape, and now they've sealed their own fate. The escaping group stumbles right into a patrol of orc warriors. Make sure that screams rip through the air, sheer helpless terror echoing off every surface. The situation keeps escalating, one disaster piling relentlessly onto another. Building 11 looms ahead, the source of this nightmare pulling out everything. Building 11 looms ahead, his voice steady with quiet resolve. We'll fight too. We won't get in your way, but we can at least protect ourselves. He's ready to stand. Easier for him to fight alone, as long as nobody blocks his skeleton's path. The tension in that statement hangs heavy between them. As they push deeper inside, the darkness presses in from all sides like a living thing. A thunderous impact shakes the entire building down to its foundations. Every eye snaps toward the massive silhouette emerging from the shadows. Who's that? Is that the boss? The real nightmare is just beginning. Raw magic crackling. Songwoo feels death's cold weight pressing down. He mutters about reviving an orc skeleton, but dark energy erupts. He forces words out, straining, then demands. Do they finally understand? These skeletons will never let go. Scene 1, that's the true essence of death itself. And then a strangled roar cuts him off as the orc chief convulses. The beast snarls in defiance, but its strength is already broken. A low, guttural growl rumbles from deep within. Its strength is already broken. Then lets loose a thunderous roar. The orc chief thrashes wildly, black magic flickering like a dying flame, but Songwoo's skeletal soldiers don't flinch. They tighten their grip. The beast struggles a low growl escaping its jaws, but the end is already written. The orc chief groans in agony, stranging until a wet girl escaping its jaws, but the end is already written in the orc chief, confused. The blade. The blade slices through the air, and the command to bring it down echoes the final strike lands. Gold floods Songwoo's interface. 1,055 gold for defeating the junior black magician orc chief. Flashes as the boss crumbles to ash and gold. The building groans, then eerie silence falls. His elite goblin skeleton drinks in the orc chief's magic. Defense spikes command abilities sharpened. Songwoo confirms his theory. His minions only grow stronger when they land the killing blow themselves. Scans his roster, 33 out of 59 slots filled. His veteran goblin skeleton at level 3 with a katana, undead commander trait now stage 2. Something is emerging from the boss's mouth. A dark, pulsing orb drops from its jaws and rolls to Songwoo's feet. The air warps, a chill races up his spine. Devil, someone whispers. The system reveals the item. The Devil's Bloodstone, a legendary orb granting the devil attribute, still warps. A chill races up his spine. Devil, someone whispers at its jaws and rolls to Songwoo's feet. The air warp granting the devil attribute. Steal mana from enemies, or their strength as mana runs dry. Of Abyss exhausted, his first awakening will soon fade. This dark tale of survival is woven by JJA, adapted by Kim Jong-yul, and drawn with haunting detail by Kim Dong-jun. A survivor cheers, laughing that he actually took down the boss. Someone admits they had been destroyed and almost hinted about this. Someone admits they had fallen away from the next time, calling him a true hero. Right. He doesn't need anyone. The world outside is still a mystery, so staying solo is his best path. A sealed door stands before them, magic radiating. Defeating the area boss opened it. Failure would have made the monsters stronger. The seal shatters with a metallic screech. But Songwoo is already walking away. He glances back once, then steps into the screaming chaos of the city. The world outside is a nightmare of fire and rubble. Monsters swarming every street. A bus engine roars across Songwoo's vision. Garbled symbols. Hanho wonders where he's headed, reassuring himself that sticking with him means safety. Panic sets in as someone realizes the chaos is global. Phones are dead. The fate of their parents haunts them. Songwoo asks about Hanho's parents, has to have a house craned to the army base. Someone refuses, admitting it's a lie. Another voice booms for survivors to climb aboard. Hanho says 2 buses have plenty of room for everyone. Who wishes luck to a friend named Kyung-soo before parting. Then a terrifying roar splits the air. Someone asks Jisoo where she lives. She admits she was staying in the dorms. Her family is far away on Jeju Island. Jisoo hesitates on the dorms. Her family is far away on Jeju Island. Jisoo hesitates on the dorms. This was it. The moment that would change his mind. Songwoo wishes luck to a friend named Kyung-soo, because the best way they can tack along, doubting how useful she'll be. Assures her she's valuable. She exhales with relief, then checks once more that she's truly welcome. He grins, teasing that he'll turn her into a one-armed warrior for double the energy effect. She shrieks, but before the laughter fades, a frantic shout tells everyone to hit the ground. Rubble flying everywhere. Stunned cries ring out as something monstrous looms into view. Every eye widens, horror sinking in like ice water. Someone terrified screams at the driver to hit the gas, but realizes moving might be suicide. Cuts through the panic. The creatures are only hunting the moving buses. A terrified whisper names the impossible. Dragons, the word hangs in the air, too dreadful to believe. A sharp gasp, grim realization dawns. He admitted his earlier confidence on what she was writing. But then his voice hardens. He can become stronger. Determination ignites a fire in his eyes, something unbreakable. Songwoo argues that just adapting won't save them. They'll only become slightly more difficult. Pray unless they rise up and bring to a shadow. Not complacency. They clawed their way to the top of the food chain through sheer, unrelenting ambition. They refused to be victims. They bent the world to their will. Silence falls. The chapter closes on that iron resolve. Their rusted blades swinging at nothing. Songwoo Yu barely flinches after his speech about ambition. These creatures are already dead. Their desperation fills the air. A pathetic chorus of prey that hasn't realized it's the hunter now. One swift strike. 9,149 damage. And the last crumples. Scene 1, the notifications keep rolling in. 10 gold, 10 gold, 10 gold, as his skeletons mop up the rest without him. Songwoo doesn't even bother anymore. Goblins are just walking pocket change. Power rips through his veins. Level 6. The rush feels better than any reward. Hanho stares at the scattered bodies, muttering that Songwoo handled them all alone. But our boy says it flat, there's no point in killing goblins anymore. The thrill is gone when the prey can't even scratch you. Hanho calls out with relief as Songwoo returns. His friend is back in one piece. 9 goblins total, counted like a grocery receipt. Good work, but Songwoo's already moving on. And races toward bigger prey. Hanho catches on quick. Are they ignoring goblins now? A grin spreads across Songwoo's face. He lays out the math cold and clean. Arcs drop 80 gold. Goblins drop a pathetic 10. His eyes glow with hungry calculation as he scans the wanted list. Turns in his mind. The landscape opens up before them. Cars overturned, blood smeared across asphalt. Hanho's voice trembles as he whispers that this feels like walking into a zombie flick. The horror sinks deeper with every step. Then Song-woo spots the apple fado therein. Goblin gore. Soldiers forced to fight with digging tools. A shaky voice calls out from the truck, demanding to know if they're human. Song-woo reassures them calmly. A familiar name surfaces. Sergeant Kim. The exchange crackles with tension. Leg trapped and useless. 4 distinct gashes, each one a goblin blade that found its mark. He describes fighting off creatures no bigger than a child, but his voice trails into pained silence. Song-woo's question hangs out. You beat them, but what about your guns? The sergeant delivers the line like a death sentence. No one knows why. They were forced to fight with field shovels and swords. A cold realization creeps down Song-woo's spine. Modern humanity's advances are gone. The soldiers catch up. He understands the desperation, but they can't hand over resources that mean life or death. Sergeant Kim pivots, offering information as currency. Song-woo sets his terms calmly. Tell him everything he's seen and he'll decide if the intel is worth the supplies. The sergeant blurts out his first piece. Wolves as big as bulls, twice as vicious. Asks about blue QR codes scratched into walls. Song-woo nods. 2 so far. He gives the locations without hesitation. The station and the subway transfer center. The sergeant urges them to scan the codes. The only lifeline left. Voice lifts with cautious hope. Song-woo shifts the conversation, asking where the sergeant's unit is headed. Rejoining the main military force? But Song-woo's question cuts deeper. Does he actually believe he'll be safer with them? Answers louder than words. A scattered unit offers false hope wrapped in camouflage. Song-woo returns the sentiment but adds a warning that makes the sergeant's blood run cold. Watch the sky. Whisper. Pterodactyls, the size of buses. Baby shifter, the words linger like a dark omen. Then the QR code catches Song-woo's eye. Its faint glow pulling at him. He scratches the QR code without hesitation. Phone already in hand. Muscle memory from a world where codes linger like a dark omen. Then the QR code catches hangover. He scratches the QR code without hesitation. Phone already in hand. Muscle memory from a world where codes led to restaurant menus. Notice boards, message threads. An auction house. Camps already divided between demon and angel factions. A personal broadcasting station still under construction. The menus unfold like a dark mirror of the world they lost. Factions forming a ranking system. Every menu option whispers that power here isn't just earned, it's broadcast for everyone to see and envy. The empty communication space gapes back at him, a silence heavier than any monster's roar. Hanho does the math out loud. 1,000 gold justice comes up setting. Green with insane view counts and hundreds of comments, calling into the void. Someone out there is throwing around a fortune in gold like pocket lint. Song-woo feels the gap. These strangers are already level 8 while they're barely screaming. 6, 7, work. Deleted by the user. A new message replaces it, dismissive and sharp. Someone spouted nonsense, so they cleaned it up. The warning reads more like a threat. The silence stretches, heavy and electric. A low electricity tears through the night. A mother screams, offering her life as claws clamp over her mouth. The beasts move in for the kill, but a low electronic hum slices through the chaos. Bzzzt, freezing even the goblins freeze. And scraping claws. This family is a second from being torn apart. Then a voice cuts. Jisoo steps out, blade drawn. Promising safety, she kneels, vowing to get them home. Crumpled half loaf. A fresh screech rips from the alley. More goblins swarm. Hanno laughs, pointing at a dead end. Those idiots trapped themselves. Jisoo spots a glowing dungeon icon above the wall and suggests that chase them down. It's white, pleading not to go into the basement. She whispers about the old karaoke bar, about the thing sleeping under it that makes goblins look like harmless rats. A slow smirk spreads across Song-woo's face. A terrible monster. That sounds like exactly his kind of party. The moment they descend, a system window blazes neon bright. Unique dungeon. The Elder Slime Shrine. Song-woo and Hanho push deeper into the basement, each step sinking into a foul carpet of half-dissolved bone. Massive vault, where every surface weeps glowing slime. Hanho stumbles back, warning Song-woo to look ahead. Our boy doesn't even flinch. Calm down, it's just a small slime. His boot comes down with a wet crunch, splattering it into golden good. 140 gold for one dead slime. Hanho gags as acid stench hits him. Songwoo grins. These things can't melt bone. So his skeletons are their natural predator. It pulls itself together, then lunges like a living wave. The whole floor trembles. Hanho yells for the skeletons to do something. A system alarm screams. Boss monster. Elder slime. From a gaping pit, a mountain of translucent ooze rises, its core throbbing like a diseased heart. One skeleton instantly dissolves, bones hissing into the beast. Songwoo watches coldly. When it can't digest something, it just chooses at the massive body of Sun. Basic create bone weapon, stabbing it from the inside. He grits his teeth, a bone spear coalescing in his grip. He orders Hanho to scatter every bone he sees. He can't summon skeletons from shattered pieces, but he can forge weapons. He hurls the first spear, it punches the battle, each strike tearing a new wound. The beast shrieks, thrashing wildly, but Songwoo has already mapped its weak points. He doesn't miss a single throw. A six splintering echoes as one spear drives straight through the core's protective membrane. Agony, its entire form rippling. Its shriek distorts into a digital screech, the system glitching as it takes catastrophic damage. It rears back, frantically pulling its mass inward to seal wounds. But one last skeleton charges forward. Burden's broken, and fun is razor sharp. That was its last mistake, because the skeleton it swallowed was a ticking time bomb stuffed with bones. Silence. Then the slime convulses, 1,000 bone shards exploding outward, shredding it from the inside. He roars the order, break it into tiny pieces so it can't regenerate. A final wet glop as the last chunk collapses. Gold rains down 2015 for obliterating a boss. Collect every drop of slime mucus in glass bottles. He swirls a vial, eyes gleaming. This stuff will melt through anything. He caps the bottle, that devilish grin stretching across his face. Whoever comes for his people next is about to learn what acid feels like. Grade compound with super concentrated acid sealed in a thick shell. Hanho shoves his phone forward, insisting Songwoo read a comment right now. Songwoo taps the notification. The survivor forum opens up every friendly word. Hiding a blade. That ridiculously suspicious? Jisoo reads over his shoulder. They spent 1,000 gold to look kind, then another 1,000 to bury anyone who questions them. That same icy instinct from the deleted message fires in Songwoo's. The only sound, the crunch of bones and the shuffle of bodies obeying the order. The silence deepens. Nothing moves but the shadows. The echo of the gravelly voice fades into darkness, leaving only the promise of more bloodshed to come. Echoes. The vampire lord claims a new servant, twisting his class into a low-rank vampire. The thrall gasps excuses, but hunger already surges. He convulses, screams for blood, then howls as ecstasy hits. What dark game is being fed this monster? So strong. Lost in frenzy, the servant moans how good it tastes. Barely human. Other vampires shift uneasily. They know they could be next. A subordinate catches his boss's hesitation. Something wrong that does happen. Their target has entered the trap. The vampire lord's command hangs heavy. The gang cheers. Their 17th blood bag strolls right in. An open apartment complex makes it easy to lure idiots. Let's keep their mouths shut, too scared to interfere. But these fools never realize. When prey runs dry, they'll be next on the menu. A lookout spots the targets, not sharply. Then a guttural roar rips through. Frenzy takes older vampires. At night, a hunter's instinct freezes at the sickening crack of bone. And then they see them, skeletons rising from the ground. Songwoo activates a basic skill. Bone blades form in his minion's hands. A vampire shrieks in terror. A wet gurgle chokes the air as a skeleton's blade finds its mark. Screams erupt, raw and animal. One vampire whimpers, lost in chaos. Boy spits a curse, fury igniting his eyes. His fist slams into a vampire with thunderous impact. The vampire gapes in disbelief. No one saw it coming. Songwoo already pieced it together. No one wastes gold on malicious comments unless acting in bad faith. Just bad actors orchestrating a painful trap. He's glad he set his own trap, but the car attempt never expected that. A thug spits a threat, trying to use connections to scare our hero. his grip until the man screams. Another thug cries out for his boss in panic. Songwoo demands how many captives upstairs, or he'll rip his head off. The thug smirks. Does this kid even know how to kill? He taunts Songwoo, says he's never killed anyone. He backs his friend. The thug under Songwoo's grip garbles military jargon. Mind fracturing. Songwoo just growls, patience thinning. The thug suddenly freezes, eyes bulging in horror. Songwoo forces something down his throat. Blood. And he gags. The vampire squeaks in shock. Songwoo's eyes burn with cold fury. But these guys aren't just mindless grunts. He slams a vampire into the wall, shaking the room from pain. But the laughter dies as Songwoo rises. He asks coldly, should he start with the arms? The thug cracks instantly, offering his legs instead. 8 captives upstairs. Every word feeds Songwoo's cold rage. His true face revealed. Someone shouts, his wrist bones morphing into a jagged blade. The blade extends with a sickening shink. One vampire howls in ecstasy, drunk on divine tastes of blood. Burst sputters a curse, barely a whisper. Blood drinking doesn't just recover health. Stats climb, strength up 2, speed and health up 1. One mutters he was originally a ninja class, as if that mattered anyway. Song Wilder explains their secret. Killing humans and drinking blood lets them absorb stats directly. Then something snaps, a system chime, berserk mode activated. Stats skyrocketing over 2,000, but a brutal penalty waiting. Xianwu murmurs, there's a class even more gruesome than his own. Pyre orders comrades behind him. One wrong move, and this guy could kill them with a single blow. A whoosh of motion, then clang of steel meeting bone. They scream, he's too fast. Grab him. Desperate, a vampire cries to hold formation. But it's already chaos. Something between a scream and a laugh. A low vibration hums. Power surging. Oh shit. The thug finally recognizes him. Terror dawning. He laughs nervously, hoping it's a mistake. The flicker of recognition turns to pure dread. Bursts out. He's the leader of those skeletons. And that changes everything. Songwoo's cold fury meets their horror. The trap has flipped completely. Now the hunters become hunted. Truth clicks. He's the skeleton leader. A whispered, this can't be real. Then a vampire lunges at Jisoo, fangs bared, sneering at her fight. She swallows pain. Scene 1, a clawed hand rises for the killing blow, but a shadow flickers beside it. Songwoo's voice cuts through the chaos, reminding the monster he's not the only threat. Hanho announces himself as a dagger-firing Gatling gun and unleashes hell, forcing the vampire back with a furious snarl. The beast curses, staggering, realizing he sorely underestimated their speed. He weaves through every blade, movement monstrous, a mocking laugh echoing. Handling the battlefield. Handling in space. Grip like iron, a strangled cry escapes Hanho as his claws sink deeper into muscle and bone. The vampire taunts him, demanding he fight back like a real opponent. A sickening crack splits the air as the vampire snaps Hanho's weapon in two. Devastation. The item is destroyed, and he's too weak to fight back. Hanho gasps, every attempt too slow, his body betraying him completely. Then Jisoo throws a wild kick, but the vampire snatches around and hits it. All bad news. Stalks closer, fangs dripping with anticipation. But that's when everything changes. Songwoo laughs, boasting he saw this ambush from a mile away. He steps out from the shadows with a casual greeting, his grin chilling the vampire's blood and power. The true necromancer has entered the fray. The vampire shrieks as Songwoo's might finally puts him on the defensive. He howls in agony, realizing he's actually bleeding for the first time in this cursed world. The vampire desperately orders every minion to attack at once. And minions shouting their loyalty. But the horror unfurls. Their own boss is mutating into something monstrous. One minion gasps, stammering at the grotesque form wearing his leader's face. The air as Death Knights charge into the chaos. The Death Knights tear into the minions like a scythe through wheat. The mutated vampire roars, his body twisting into a horror of claws and fangs. Songwoo doesn't flinch. He simply raises a hand in more guilty than walk. Tears drag them down. But the vampire is far from finished. He lunges through the storm of blades, aiming straight for Songwoo's throat. With inhuman grace, his cloak billowing. The vampire's claws rake through empty air. Our necromancer's lips curl. He's enjoying this. He snaps his fingers and a wall of bone erupts. Because smashes through it, splinters flying, but each second he spends breaking through only brings him closer to exhaustion. Hanho, still bleeding, watches from the ground and realizes Songwoo is toying with him. The vampire snarls, his muted form starting to crack. Under his name, fast. Songwoo's voice echoes, cold and mocking, reminding him that humans aren't prey anymore. The vampire screams and orders a full retreat, but before his minions can flee, a ring of skeletons tightens around them. Vampire's eyes dart, looking for an escape, and find none. Songwoo steps forward, one hand outstretched. Dark energy pulses around his palm, but each lunge is met by a blade to his chest. He's bleeding from a dozen wounds now. Hanno struggles to his feet, gripping his torn arm. Jisoo pushes herself up, gasping. Strength is failing. One more push and he'll fall. The final blow hangs in the air. Songwoo's shadow stretches, swallowing the battlefield. Desperate howl, but it's drowned out by the sound of 1,000 bones shifting. The skeletons surge forward as one. And then, everything goes silent. Fire is gone, buried under a mountain of white. But Songwoo doesn't stop. He turns, eyes cold, toward the horizon, where a new threat is already starting. Doorway, finger wagging, ready to lecture his son about gambling, while the world burns outside. The apocalypse hasn't even paused this man's disappointment. Our protagonist, Hanho, just escaped a muting boss, springing through a stairwell praying his parents survived. And now this... The old man launches into his tirade, waving that finger like monsters aren't tearing through soul. This is what happens when you gamble your money away, son. Hanho's mind reels. How did they do with that? Floor got ripped off by orc scouts. His mother answers casually. Pesticide. His father sprayed by his father. Those brutish green monsters took one whiff and fled squealing like terrified pigs. Hanho's jaw drops. That's the most brilliant, ridiculous survival tactic he's ever heard. Dad mimes a spray bottle with an audible pew, looking entirely too pleased with himself. Thanking them for dragging her useless son home, she offers green tea, apologizing it's all she has. Jisoo bows immediately, her voice soft with gratitude. The group settles over them, a tiny victory snatched from the end of the world. Mother warns the boilers off. Water runs ice cold. Jisoo nods and slips toward the bathroom. Beep. Then a sharp yelp pierces the thin walls as freezing water hits her skin. Jisoo stumbles out shivering, wrapped in borrowed clothes that hang loose on her lean frame, stammering thanks for the pajamas, with motherly concern, murmuring how fragile the poor girl looks, while Hanno nearly chokes, knowing Jisoo is literally 30 times stronger than him. Jisoo just lets out a quiet titch, too exhausted to argue. Meanwhile, Songwoo stands up in his icebreak and feels something he hasn't felt in ages. Pure symbol and new. Just for a completely different reason. Hanho's parents are alive. Both of them. Songwoo watches Hanho's parents fuss over their son, and a quiet, unnamed ache settles deep in his bones. He shoves it down. Focus. And blood. He turns to the group, voice dropping low. Staying here is a death sentence now. The fragile calm evaporates. Those orcs weren't an army. They were scouts. A full orc force nearby means an all-out massacre. The real problem claws at them. No clear objection. Hanho's voice spikes with urgency, shoving his phone towards Songwoo's face. Hanho jabs at the screen. The Yongdong-po prosecutor just dropped 1,000 gold to open a message board for survivors. Jisoo frowns, scrolling through the posts. The words feel too perfect. But if the message is real, this person genuinely seems like they want to help. Timing clicks into place. This explains his move yesterday. Hanho blinks, lost. Songwoo leans back, voice taking on that cold, analytical edge. The prosecutor's claims about a safe zone might be legitimate. This world runs on game logic, now everything is covered. Flatly. Look at the comments. The feed is flooded, desperate souls clinging to every word like gospel. They've already started worshipping this guy, piling up praise like tributes. A leader built a whole reputation off a single post, and that's exactly the play. A community bringing its own resources right to his doorstep. Soon he'll command a massive faction without lifting a weapon. Hanho's face tightens, so this whole thing, he's just manipulating it. Song was its own resources. Into heavy stillness. Hanno, not this shelter. He scrolls frantically, desperation leaking into his movements. Then his thumb stops. Option after option flickers across the screen, each laced with hidden danger or impossible demands. Songwoo's expression doesn't waver. He doesn't like the mention of rent, but something about this safe zone pulls it out as instincts. Hwaseon Fortresses. The name lands heavily. Hano practically launches off the floor. He bolts toward the other room, shouting for his parents. Hanho returns, chest heaving with a fragile mixture of hope and fear. This might be their only real shot. The question cuts through. Are we ready? Jisoo rises without hesitation. The burden. But the old couple hoists their packs onto their shoulders, resolve forged in steel. They won't be left behind. Songwoo moves to the door first, Death Knights hovering just beyond the veil of shadows. The hallway yawns ahead like a throat. Silent waiting, they reach the shattered lobby, crouching low. Orc bodies litter the street like butchered cattle. A roar rips through the distant east. Low, guttural, and far too close. The clock is bleeding seconds. Jisoo's fingers tighten around her weapon strap. Her predators gave stake. Jisoo's fingers tighten around her weapon strap. Her predators gave slightly throughout her weapon strap. Her predators gave slightly through every shadow. A sharp nod. Slip into the dying light of the ruined city. Streets painted in rust and ash. Freedom itself feels like something they left behind in another life. Our protagonist leads the silent march through narrow alleyways, skeletal soldiers gliding alongside them like ghosts. Behind them, the apartment. The brief wails the silent march through narrow alleyways, skeletal soldiers gliding alongside them like ghosts. Behind them, the apartment. The brief warm illusion of home dissolves into the gloom. No turning back. A fortress shrouded in rumor. A safe zone that reeks of manipulation. But it's the only thread they have left to pull. And deep within Songwoo's chest, necromantic energy thrums like a coiled serpent, ready to erupt the moment danger dares to show its face. Every bond they've forged, every dark secret whispering beneath his skin, and every drop of power he's been hiding. The journey is just beginning. Songwoo's crew floors it down the road, but something's wrong. From the brush, fangs bared, eyes locked on them. What dark secret lurks in these woods? And why aren't the beasts attacking yet? Scene 1. The wolves pace slowly, muscles coiled, growled, as he calculates their disadvantage. Bipeds can't match quadrupeds in balance. Once they fall, they're finished. 6 of them ready to strike. Every nerve screams to flee, but there's nowhere to run. A pouch of slime fluid appears in songs of spear. In recognition. This is their chance. Songwoo shouts to throw it. Bipeds can generate greater force by throwing, and these beasts won't see it coming. Straight at the charging wolf's snout. The pouch explodes against the wolf's face. Its roar chokes into a gurgle, foaming at the mouth as corrosive mucus does its work. 2 more wolves recoil, whining in confusion. Songwoo smirks. Didn't anyone teach you not to eat whatever someone hands you? And a notification flashes, 240 gold, and Songwoo levels up to 7. Over the roadside. Jisoo feels like a burden, but Songwoo reassures her. The situation was just unfavorable. His gaze shifts to Hanho. His growth has stalled. And in this hellscape, stalling equals death. Roar thunders from deeper in the woods. Their window of escape slams shut. A military chopper chugs overhead. Flying monsters was ignored because he was only a sergeant. Now the field boss appears, a wyvern alpha male. Its shriek shreds the air as it descends. Black smoke obliterates the aircraft. Twisted metal rains down like a death sentence. Our crew watches, hearts pounding. Weapons meant nothing. The wyvern owns this sky now. They huddle in a cramped hollow. Breaths shallow, eyes never leaving the slumbering giants. Crackles with a small flame, and the world bends. His vision spirals into a shimmering corridor where the system waits. A colossal question vibrates in the void. Which clashes a colossal question vibrates in the void? Which clashes is weighing us to a shimmering, correlating to the fact. Now, it's already begun. Songwoo sees a combo card option, but it disappears. Someone else picked it. He forces himself to think carefully. Class that meshes with Necromancer, not just the highest stars. Songwoo selects a link card, Dark Mage. Skills appear. Death's aura buffs undead and debuffs enemies. But then the card flickers and vanishes. Another player snatched it a heartbeat faster. It's in his veins, but giving up isn't in his nature. His eyes lock onto a new card pulsing with shadowy hunger. He stretches out his hand, a dangerous smirk curving his lips. This ain't over. Manhwa's goofy shadowboxing crumbles under the crew's disbelief over his chef class. Jisoo's calm reveal of her 3-star hitman card earns respect. The weight of survival crashes back down as that promise burns through him. He'll fortify mind and body for the hell ahead. The laughter dies, reality crashes in. The group huddles, realizing a pioneer's camp safe zone would bleed them dry. Songwoo decides to keep it for emergencies. Only Hwaseong Fortress is obvious, but Songwoo's gut says no rush. Existing groups will exploit them. Just then, they spot the thugs stirring. Han-Ho's instincts kick in, signaling a pause. Forms for a store location. Han-Ho's fingers fly, the hunt intensifying. Songwoo's mind is pure calculation. 24,560 gold. Every coin must become raw power, but the search yields nothing, dead air. A terrified scream pierces the air. The wyverns have vanished. A frantic scramble to move out. And right on cue, our heroes lock eyes on the same punks from yesterday. These lowlifes specialize in robbing everyone blind, so they definitely know a black market storefront. The name materializes like a cruel joke, Mo Mart. The thugs fume, cursing waivers for wasting a day in that stinking butcher's shop. One nudges Tae-seong, giddy about the silver roulette finally dropping. But meet a wall of dead silence. Hollow stares, shivering bodies. A chill snakes down Tae-seong's spine. His lackey stammers that it's too quiet, the air feels poisoned. Hides out of the darkness. Tae-seong's blood runs cold as he asks where Yujin is. A survivor stammers through tears. A blood-sucking monster returned because Yujin's quota fell short, and he was dragged off as payment. A raw, guttural cry of rage explodes. Yujin, but the words die in his throat. Yujin snarls back, a feral hiss ordering Tae-seong to shut his mouth. The scent of their humanity sparks a maddening hunger. Then a new, bone-chilling voice drips with condescension as a monstrous presence steps into view. With the memory of Wuzuk's cheerful, loyal spirit, this thing killed their leader. Ichal slams the question again, rage boiling behind his calm expression. Silence hangs for a heartbeat before the answer drops. They have to drink blood in moderation or die from poison. His cold gaze sweeps over them, baffled they refuse biology. The air freezes as his tone drops to a dangerous whisper. Did someone just talk back? He reminds them his boss was generous enough to let them participate in this. The devil actors stopped to de-escalate, promising to handle it internally. A casual wrong slaps Ichal into silence. The vampire's patience shattered. The ultimatum crystallizes. Obey every command without question or be slaughtered. Pure disbelief flashes across their faces. They're expected to hand over every coin they've bled for. Gather 10,000 gold. A sadistic smirk confirming running away is a fantasy. One thug tries to flee but gets snatched up instantly, his screams cut short. The narrator's voice is dry as desert sand, noting the absence of doubt. Even the vampire falters into confusion. Our crew turns the tables hard, roaring at them to hand over everything they own. The vampires erupt into mocking laughter, then a strangled cry as the real power play begins. A glint of razor-sharp fangs flashes in the light and recognizes the crew's process. First point. Is this scum the boss of the H apartment gang? A horrifying puzzle piece snaps into place. Zach, these are the monsters who slaughtered them. A survivor screams to know who killed them, but the question is cut off by the sharp whistle of a blade. It is one of the most. His head separates from his body, a choked gurgle escaping as confusion seizes his nervous system. As skeletons claw out of the ground, a henchman sputters through a muffled scream. As bony hands lock around his limbs, the interrogation is over before it starts. Skeletons swarm with a single brutal command. Pure, visceral agony rips through the air as the vampire's body and reanimated head both shrieking and hard. Zooms over the carnage, voice dripping with dark fascination. Is regeneration its party trick? The pressure only grows. Silence stretches. The next move feels inevitable. Jisoo's blade shrieks, not from her sword, but from the impossible sight of its master's head knitting back together. Songwoo's necromancy has turned even death into a twisted joke. Jisoo snarls, blade pressing deeper. One twitch and its skull separates from its side. A sharp crack splits the air as Jisoo snaps the vampire's arm like a dry twig. The creature's mocking giggle twists into an agonized wail, but defiance still smolders in its bloodshot eyes. It thrashes, desperate to sink its fangs into her. With a thunderous crack, rattling its brain, vision blurring into a swim of pain. Hanho stammers in disbelief. The vampire's regeneration just hit a wall. Kicking in. Songwoo drives another fist into the monster, a ferocious roar bursting from his lungs. The roar grows desperate, ragged. A high-pitched yelp punches out of its throat. Then a final guttural shriek. The vampire's voice distorts into incomprehensible static, its spirit crumbling. Songwoo's enchantment burns through its healing like acid, every punch carving permanent damage, and the monster finally tastes true. Helmet escapes as the punishment continues. Then a system notification chimes. Supreme Sense activates. A flood of clarity erupts in Songwoo's mind. Now he sees every attack pattern laid bare, every opening like a glaring map. Sturdier, weakening any enemy that dares touch them. Before, those skeletons would have been overwhelmed by the vampire's monstrous strength. Now they hold their ground, and this skill proves insanely useful. A tenfold weakening curse slams into the enemy, its body caping under crushing pressure, gasping for mercy. But Songwoo only controls skeletons physically weak, so one clean shot should finish him. It schemes to inch closer under pretense of conversation. Gut him fast. Watch the bone puppets crumble. Claws aimed at Songwoo's heart, but our boy already read the betrayal in its fake surrender. A piercing shriek fills the air as Songwoo's spear impales the charging monster. Should still talk, even with spear skewering its chest. He offers a grim choice: enough, or shall he deliver more from his endless arsenal? The rescued captives stare with jaws hanging open. The necromancer they feared just dismantle. Empire chokes out a dying threat. The day the boss's plan succeeds, they'll all be crushed. Jisoo's sword sweeps in a clean arc, and the vampire's head separates from its shoulders. No regrowth this time, only silence. One captive shrieks in terror. He's no soldier, just a survivor. And the gore is too much. Seongwoo reminds him, voice calm but commanding. Hand over everything they've stolen. 84 gold received. Then another 431 gold, finally 891 more. But Songwoo clicks his tongue, of course is the same one that other vampire mentioned. He notes the boss is clearly growing in power, even hiring money collectors. A strategic move. Songwoo muses that someone adapted so quickly to this dystopian hellscape. It might be the world they were born to rule. Not only the boss, but his underlings can create new vampires too. Prism is about to spread like a virus. The chilling arithmetic slaps them across the face. It takes their whole party just to handle one vampire. One more vampire lord and they're all dead. No question the transfer of offers to lead them there. Out with a sinister quiz. What happens to arrogant fools who skip the second round of class selection? Hanho's voice cracks as a red notification window appears. Songwoo sees it too. Cold dread grips our boy. Someone stammers Minsik's name is quite positive. Never chose a card. Minsik spits back that the system is rigged, so why would he risk that? The system's cruel laughter echoes across the plaza as Minsik's defiant gamble turns him to a bloody lesson. Spine cracking and warping. The sheer power radiating from him leaves no doubt. Once transformation finishes, they're all dead. But there's still a narrow window. Our party lunges forward with skills blazing. Song Lemon Tide. Nation's corpse cool, but dread still coils in the complex. A furious voice screams about innocent blood, then a body slams the wall. Han-ho, the rogue, declares mercy is a luxury they can no longer afford. He wipes his mouth in shape, obliterates a reinforced skeleton. A werewolf howls, transforms, and 3,000 gold rewards flash. What just happened? Scene 1? Songwoo? Louder? A werewolf was a nightmare compared to a dire wolf's measly 240 gold. What are they mutating into? He grabs a random stat card, speed +3. Physical stats to avoid being targeted as skeleton commander. The group realizes the difficulty spiked. Songwoo's eyes narrow, a dark plan forms. He'll raise the dead humans, something he's never done before. Raising the dead will make every survivor his enemy. But the world's rules have shattered. Old hesitations are a death sentence. He's already spotted people in this group without a class. Entire squads will mutate when they can't pick one in time. He shreds his last hesitation. Reputation is a luxury he can't afford. Hanho's head snaps around. And where the store is. Someone stammers that the shop is called the Complex Sales Cafe. The shop is buried inside a sprawling used car complex. The crew squatting there works directly for the vampires, rounding up humans like cattle or skeletons, every shadow frozen. Hanho shoots Songwoo a razor-sharp look. The silence is too flawless, too dead. They've been creeping like ghosts, but not a single guard is in sight. Something rotten crouches in the stilled-in set. And look. A roar follows, and someone curses a stupid bear. The enraged werebear rears up and swings a paw like a wrecking ball, hurling bodies aside like crumpled paper. Jisoo smashes into a car door, metal buckling inward. Claws slice a hair's breadth from his throat. Hanho hits the dirt in a roll, gravel shredding his jacket. Then iron shackles snap off the werebear's thrashing limbs. Chains. The pieces slam together in Songwoo's head. This bear must have already mauled every vampire in the area. Hanho shouts that the bear was a human they abducted. Shackled and helpless, they couldn't pick a class. When the timer hit 0, they mutated into this beast. Their own captive. They reaped exactly what they sowed. But then a vampire explodes from the dark fangs bared, claws aimed straight for Hanho's heart. The vampire screams that a piece of prey dares to raise a hand against them. Hanho twists desperately, claws his graze. He sees a chance to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The werebear's roar rattles the windshields. Vampires shriek as they swarm the giant beast in a frenzy, shouting for it to die, its roar crumbling into a wet gasp. But even as the dust settles, fresh growls ripple through the wreckage. Dozens of amber eyes ignite in the shadows. The wolves answer death with more death. The pack lunges as one. Wolves hunt in packs. The alpha's challenge rumbles like thunder. A final coordinated strike slams the werebear's colossal frame into the dirt. It does not rise, a reward prompt shimmers coldly. 3,500 gold for killing a werebear. The fallen mountain of fur. He needs another minion slot to summon this bear. Seongwoo's necromancer will pulses outward, hungry and absolute. He commands the dead under his authority. It's enormous. That might be the maximum size for a minion. A moment of tense silence, then the bear lurches upright, now under his control. A monstrous addition to his growing army. Awaiting commands. The party stares in awe. This monstrous minion could turn the tide. But the complex still holds dangers. They press on, deeper into the used car lot, where the vampire-aligned crew lurks. What horrors await them inside? Bursting with unholy fire. Hanho stammers in disbelief. But Jisoo catches a crimson mark spreading across Songwoo's skin. The priest, his brother, identifies it as the vampire lord's tracer too. Scene 1 right then, a system window blazes to life before Songwoo. A special quest activates No Country for Wicked Men. Eliminate the killer hunting him. The reward pulses with 30,000 gold, and a C-rank item ticket. Songwoo is being taxed. Bear's lair, his voice slicing through the silence. Then a cheerful chime rings out as they step into a D-rank store. A massive Lucky Ball machine towers before them, glowing with options. Bronze, silver, gold, plaza, and a special choice. Hanho eyes it like a predator, reminding Songwoo of the unlimited rank ticket from campus. Eyes light up as he remembers the reward from campus. The unlimited rank ticket. Across the display, each demanding 100,000 gold. He calculates ruthlessly. That ticket is too valuable to waste here. He'll stick with a gold pick. He locks in the first-place prize ball with 5 extra pulls. The machine whirs and a shower of golden light erupts. First place, an item card blinks before him. Master Craftsman's rank skill coupon. Upgraded to master rank. The skill burns across his retina. Refuge in the void. A resting space for minions with unlimited capacity and instant summons. The cost, 0. Songwoo can't believe his absurd love for minions with unlimited capacity. An instant summons, the cost is over. Songwoo can't believe his absurd luck. It's blazing. He wants to go right now. Jisoo stammers she wants to try too. Songwoo raises a hand and activates his new skill, sending his minions spiraling back into the void refuge with a strange elastic sound. Then he turns curiosity glinting. Hanho holds up a B-rank survival package. Bandages, rope, nothing flashes. Pure ass. Awkward silence. But before they can move, a whip cracks like a gunshot. A monstrous overseer bellows at slaves to pick up the pace. A panicked survivor throws open a car door, screaming for everyone to get in. He got way too complacent. Kyung-soo's mind spirals with regret. He should have stayed with that absolute monster of a man. He bites his lip until he tastes blood. He was a fool to think the military base meant safety. After evading wyverns and stampeding monster herds, they rolled up to the basement of the Kazakh. But what waited was... A hollow gasp escapes his throat. Someone in the back seat shrieks. What do they do now? The panicked mob rounds on Kyung-soo, voices clawing at him. He promised safety, but there's nothing here. He slams his fist against the dashboard. All he did was drive them here. He never signed up for this. Suddenly, a desperate hand grabs Kyung-soo's sleeve. Pointing into the distance, hope flickers. Could it be? A safety zone. They beg him to tell them where to go. Kyung-soo steadies his breathing, thrusts a finger forward. But what awaited them at the fortress was... That twisted, grinning face. Then a boot slams into a slave's back. The monster growls, ordering them to move. If they don't want to work, a hot kitchen and dinner plate are eagerly waiting. The monster leans down, mockery dripping from its tongue. If they don't want to work, a hot kitchen and dinner plate are eagerly waiting. Surveys the exhausted crowd, sneering that this batch is wearing thin. High time to replace them. Its comrade agrees, noting some might fight back now that they've leveled up. A cruel grin splits the creature's face. Waste not, one monster slash... Anyone too slow becomes dinner. A monster's head snaps toward a frozen figure. A clawed hand seizes his throat. A sickening crack, and blood sprays. But through the carnage, a tiny shape moves where no one expected. Tiny skeleton goblin. Another dismisses it, probably just a new type of monster. But the skeleton screeches and lunges forward. The monsters roar to kill it. Pomi, the little skeleton, darts through the chaos like a vengeful ghost. Hope ignites in the darkest corner. Stabs a monster. It staggers backward, another monster spins with a grunt. Then a voice rips across the battlefield. Seong-woo. Our boy steps out from the smoke, his voice eerily calm. Kyung-soo that he wished him good luck when they parted ways. I guess it didn't really take. Kyung-soo just stands there, mouth open. He locks eyes with Song-woo. He looks a hell of a lot stronger than before. They were both ordinary college students once, so why this crushing gap? Monsters, and he roars that he'll kill them all. Blades and bone cleave through flesh, the ground slick with monster blood. Survivors shriek and throw up their hands. Song-woo's voice slices through the chaos, colder than steel. Leave one alive for interrogation. Kill the rest of the world. Step. Their cruel confidence shatters as Song-woo's command still echoes. One stumbles back, gasping, this is nothing like the helpless prey they were promised. Realization hits like a blade. They're not the hunters here. Seem-won Seong-woo offers a cold thanks for the vampire's honesty, then makes it perfectly clear mercy was never an option. Desperation floods the creature's voice as he promises every scrap of intel. If they'll just spare him, before anyone can react, Kyung-soo steps forward, fury burning behind his eyes, but he knows what's happening inside that factory. Don't let a single monster walk away. This bastard slaughtered every last one of his friends. His voice cracks as he admits his crew were jumpy cowards, always on edge, but none of them deserve to be butchered like animals. His hands trembled as he chokes out. Brief with a nod. Sorry about your friends, but surviving that hell takes guts. These freaks didn't snap overnight. They've been hiding their cruelty behind normal faces the whole time. Even when the world falls apart, not everyone turns into a monster adapting, and does. The traitor's pleas die in his throat as cold, unforgiving justice lands for his fallen crew. But the real job isn't finished. These liberated animals cannot be allowed to keep running free. Vengeance burns white hot, and Song-woo feels that same fire mirrored in his own chest. These monsters don't get to walk away. Deep in the factory, a subordinate calls out to the area manager. His voice trembles. With unease, his expression dripping with irritation at being interrupted. This guy has zero clue that death itself is about to knock on his door. The underling dares to ask what the boss is thinking, his eyes searching for answers. He presses harder. They're following orders, captured people. But how much longer does this grunt work last? Sound. People? Those aren't people. They're walking food and experience points. The area manager sneers that humans are easier to catch than monsters and 10 times more useful in every way. His voice oozes with pride as he rants about their CEO's brilliant vision. Everyone's fighting around what begs to prove himself worthy of that future. The manager puffs up, promising that with hard work and loyalty, even the lowliest grunt can earn a place among the regular members. Their CEO will grant every last one of them the honor of becoming permanent. Full-time employees, just a nobody warehouse worker once, now elevated by the CEO's grace. That's when the door explodes inward in a shower of splinters and dust. Song-woo steps through the wreckage, and every single vampire in that room feels a chill crawl up their spine. Demanding to know who dares to intrude. Seong. Song-woo's lips curl into a mocking grin. Innovative management structure, isn't it? He spits back that it's just a fancy way of saying they threw away every scrap of their humanity. What is this man talking about? Recognition flickers across the grunt's face, and it hits like a freight train. This is the one-man apocalypse they've all been praying they'd never meet. One of the captives screams in wild hope. It's the guy from campus, the one who saved them all. The legend made flesh standing right in front of them. A vampire lackey shrieks at them to shut their filthy mouths. They're nothing but livestock and have no right to speak. He asks the question that cuts deepest. Didn't their CEO bother to warn them who he is? The area manager finally places him, so this is the one who killed Manager Park. It's almost funny. With rage, he calls Seong-woo reckless for coming in alone. But what makes him think he can take on everyone? What makes him think he can? That would be his skills. Black smoke begins bleeding from his body, swallowing the light around him. Then the shadows themselves start to writhe and moan. And deep within that churning darkness, the clatter of ancient bones begins to rise. His army is answering the call. Over every single player in the room. They've faced monsters before, but nothing that makes the air itself feel like a graveyard. Then a sickly green sigil etches itself into the air above their heads, and every muscle in their body suddenly turns to lead to the death. It's that the curse of death has infected them, their stats plummeting as those abominations rise from the earth. Screams rip through the factory as limbs are torn from bodies. The carnage is absolute and instantaneous. They fight, but their commands drown in the chaos. One of them rallies, screaming for everyone to get it together, but his voice cuts off in a wet gurgle. Another tries to bark orders. Stay calm. Push forward. Just stay calm. His voice echoes through the slaughter, reminding them that he holds absolute dominion over the dead. Truth sinks in. He can revive every fallen fighter. Right on cue, the corpses they just put down lurch back to their feet. Loyal and unkillable, the area manager spits out a venomous curse. His arrows finally crumpling into raw terror. A beast of a soldier roars a final desperate promise. If he kills Song-woo, everything ends and he charges up. The crack of a gunshot echoes from above. A sniper had a clear shot, but something's already tearing into his face. Drops from the rafters behind the screaming sniper, our blades silencing him before he can fire again. Hanho's voice cuts through the noise like a lifeline. He's calling out to Song-woo that the hostages are safe. Song-woo glances over his shoulder, a flicker of relief cutting through the cold. Mayhem urging everyone to move. Get the injured onto the bus. Now, civilians stumble toward the exit, their terrified cries mixing with the carnages as Hanho shields them from the nightmare erupting behind them. His legs giving out as tears stream down his face. He can barely process that he's really escaping. His body screams in agony, every muscle burning. But every ounce of pain means he's still alive. A fiery aura erupts. Around him, the shrieks, its smug grin vaporized as the captive-turned avenger becomes a whirlwind of death. The vampire ranks. One screams into the chaos that he's in danger and scrambles for an escape route. The death curse burrows deeper, stats plummeting as a new horror scars the air. The devil's blood infects them, and their life force begins to drain. Without end, Bloodstone pulses with demonic hunger. The Devil's Bloodstone, a legendary artifact that steals 200 mana per strike and drains their very vitality when mana runs dry. The area manager's body begins to crumple as the orb drinks every last drop of power from him. This isn't a fight anymore. It's an execution. It tightens on Jisu's wrist. Wild Spirit hums, granting a 20% boost to her attack speed. Quicken her blood as she dives back into the chaos, every slash landing just a little faster. And as always, Hanho does his part. The shield that holds the line while the monsters fall. The pressure only grows, and the next move feels inevitable. Nothing changes about it. Nothing shames. The pressure only grows, and the next move feels inevitable. It freezes the crew mid-step. Songwoo's squad has cornered their target in an abandoned factory, but the hunter might be the prey. When their eyes meet, crushing pressure slams down. Hanho shouts. A cultist trembles at the necromantic power pouring off his leader. Screams he'll die for his savior, then hurls himself into the slaughter. The high-level vampire snaps. Blind rage takes over, a guttural roar shaking the iron beams. Songwoo tilts his head, deadly calm. He asks if this is really the beast's true form, scoffs at its thrown-away humanity. Bulging grotesquely, but Songwoo just exhales, completely unfazed. One command in his entire legion surges forward to attack. The factory floor erupts into absolute chaos. Claws scrape against bone and steel. The skeleton army floods forward by a wave of death. She asks the berserker if he's overwhelmed already. Right on cue, a colossal bone fist slams into the raging vampire, shaking the walls. Pop, a joint dislocates under the force. He howls, his legs snapping, crumpling back into many. Finishes and reappears to flank the crippled monster. The vampire reels, fury boiling behind his crimson eyes. He swipes wildly, humiliated, a lowly skeleton besting him. Black, an orc skeleton besting him. Losing the race against mounting damage. Slash. Jisoo opens a deep gash across his back. He spins, snarling that no pile of bones will surprise him. But he's already too late. The undead legion piles on and drags the threshing beast to the cold. Who is amazing, but they're evenly matched with the vampire, and that's not good. The berserker's body is failing fast, blood loss and strain eating him alive, but Songwoo calculates he'll run out of monster corporates. The orc barrier fails to break the flow. They're in serious trouble out here. Real dread creeps in. This monster is nothing but the vampire lord's subordinate. His mind races. How strong is the vampire lord? Huh? Wait, a system message slices through the chaos. He can now command the dead under his own authority, thanks to flawless teamwork with his new ally. A synergy effect. Roger stepped around. We are going to trust it, he said. We are going to be softening for someone else's friendship. Not without your brain was moving over. How would you go and find a Netstud under his own authority? That snicky flaw. What did you decide if the message was slightly transparent? Sungwoo promises to put that werewolf corpse she brought to devastating use. Synergy. A dark pulse ripples. The Cerberus Guardian of Hell synergy hardens every skeleton's bones. Into black steel, the Berserk Guardian of Hell synergy hardens every skeleton's bones. He clenched his fists. The Berserk Guardian of Hell synergy hardens every skeleton's bones. It means that it's making terrorizing to decide if how it shall. The Berserk Guardian of Hell synergy hardens every skeleton's bones. The Berserk Vampire stammers and hard and of Hell synergy. Ice cold. Rip him to pieces. A gargled scream echoes as limbs tear from their sockets. He begs his failing body to endure, but he's already done for. Songwoo growls over the dying monster. Tell your boss his little hazard back up. At the broken corpse, the system still treats him as human, even in this monstrous state. A dark idea sparks. He can make this guy his minion. Until now, he's beheaded vampires to stop rejection. But a damaged spine ruins the corpse. This one might still be intact. Tendrils flow from his fingertips, sinking into the corpse to stitch the spine with forbidden magic. From now on, you'll serve me, not that vampire lord, he murmurs to the lifeless face. Don't worry, the deceased is up now. Back, he's never experienced this before. The fragment forces him to listen. The vampire lord's cackle fills his mind. Anyone got an answer? Of course not. To evolve. Area manager Kim agrees. A congregation of fanatics hangs on every word. We shall herald a new world order, for I am your vampire lord. Right here in Hwaseong. Songwoo understands. This is a race to prevent unimaginable slaughter. Human farms, combat slaves, slaughter parties in its work, damning at the exploitation Dan's farm. The system isn't done yet. Window slams into view. Master of Death. The same cursed weight as before. Songwoo's heart hammers. The last time he saw this, a professor died right in front of him. What the hell do you want from me this time, you damn game? Scene 1 static crackles through the link. Then Hanho's voice stammers, panic strangling every word. Did turning that vampire into a minion break something into the mixture? Empire's fault. Hanho grabs Songwoo's shoulders, tears welling up. He should have left that monster rotting. He promises he'll do anything. Just please snap out of it. Jisoo steps forward, her voice unsteady. Jisoo steps forward, her voice unsteady, trying to calm him down. And dies, leaving hollow static. But then Songwoo's eyes snap into focus, sharp as a blade. Who exactly are you blaming here? Hanho's face drains of color. His words just backfired terribly. Backpedal. Songwoo's tone drops to ice. You said you'd do anything I say. Right. I'm holding you to that. The threat hangs in the air, unbroken. By his own outburst, Songwoo's cold stare cuts straight through the panic. He's fully in control, and he's been listening the entire time. The unbearable tension shatters into an awkward, sheepish chuckle. But somewhere far away, a vampire lackey gasps in disbelief. The area manager? He's been killed? How? Even after you personally lent him your strength. A chill runs down his spine. Thought. Killing a strengthened area manager with nothing but pathetic skeletons. It's insulting. The lackey dares to question the vampire lord. But won't someone like that pose a real problem for your grand plans? The vampire lord's voice drops to a venomous whisper, the anti-growl, instantly crumbling to his knees in terror. Apologize. But the lord relents. No, you're not wrong. A vein pulses with irritation, having to divert attention to these petty annoyances when he should focus solely on the quest. That's when the lord reveals his ace. As long as my curse tracks his location, he's just a loose end I'll tie up. Once the great feast concludes, he's next. He intends to savor meeting Songwoo face to face. What he doesn't know, a mountain of supplies. There's so much to sort through. The tension shifts, they're preparing for something big. Hanho asks through the clutter, but Songwoo, is it really okay for us to be doing all this right now? He explains, if everything Songwoo told them is true, a massive slaughter is about to unfold at Hwaseong Fortress. The vampire gang is planning to gather hundreds of survivors into one place and drain them all at once. So shouldn't we be racing over there to stop it right now? The question hangs, urgent. Something insane is blowing up on the forum. The bastards are actively baiting players in. The screen scrolls up a sickeningly sweet invitation wrapped in promises of safety. Desperate survivors flood the comments, begging to be let in. Titans, watching the trap spring with flawless cruelty. The post oozes false hope. We remaining survivors must unite. 115 comments. Hover over the keyboard to warn, but Songwoo raises a hand. Wait, we need to think. Will their warning actually convince people desperate to cling to any hope? Even an obvious lie? Station settles over the room. That creates an even bigger problem. If those monsters change their plans because they expose them, he loses his one advantage, knowing exactly what they're going to do. All right, we can't stop them this second. Now, he turns to Jisoo. Did you find anything useful? She dumps a pile from the area manager's filing cabinet. Whoa, the chapter ends on a new lead. Calling out the injustice, Jisoo bled for them, earned her place, but Songwoo ignores him, eyes locked on a screen exploding with notifications. Real power players flood the thread. Dead watch, the BJ Ondang passes. The battlefield flood the thread. Dead watch, the BJ Ondang passes. Real powers flood the thread. Dead watch, the BJ Ondang passes. Real power players flood the thread. Dead watch, the BJ Ondang passes. Who knows the poster didn't write that expecting him to enlist, just good faith. Genuinely impressed by ambitious players stepping into light. Then Hanho snaps back to reality and asks where they're heading. The question hits like a slap. Without Songwoo, he'd be dead in 2 hours. They push into the ruined city. Their driver stops at a dead district and refuses to go farther. Only the crunch of glass under boots. Hanho trembles as he asks if this is the hunting ground. Siono trembles as he asks if this is the hunting ground. Siono trembles as he asks if this is the hunting ground. Siono trembles as he asks if this is the hunting ground. A bolt of searing energy rips through the darkness, nearly decapitating Hanho. A second volley screams in from all sides before he can flinch. Songwoo's skeletons surged forward in a blur, blades intercepting magic. Mid-layer of hand. This is no normal ambush. A piercing shriek splits the air as skeletons drag the creatures into open ground. Bones crack and shields shatter, but the phalanx refuses to buckle. Hanho growls, recognizing the scaly snouts. Kobolds, not goblins. They're physically weak, but Songwo never knew they could hurl raw magic like this. Frustration, but that's exactly why they're here. To level him up and claim new minions. Songwu mutters the correction, kobolds, not goblins, just as he suspected. They're no real physical threat, but the fact they can cast magic catches him off guard. The whole point of this hunt remains crystal clear. Level up Hanho and snag new minions. Knows he can skyrocket his strength by converting beastmen into undead. Read 4 vampires without breaking a sweat. These kobolds are too weak to raise as permanent minions. Suddenly, Hanho points toward a hulking grocery store squatting at the end of the street. The sight slams into his gut. It looks exactly like their school interests. Through shattered glass, it looks exactly like their school interests. Through shattered glass, it looks exactly like their school interests. Through shattered glass, 8 figures are moving inside. Of a tutorial zone where the game first went live, Hanho's hope flickers. Could there be survivors inside? Songwu gently crushes that hope. The more people, the faster monsters swarm. That means the country, tiny mountain villages, might be untouched. Jeju Island. Between them, Hanho voices it. Jesu's family lived on Jeju's island. Songwu brushes it off. Voice quiet, they weren't planning to find each other anyway. Besides, her family's a bunch of big shots, probably doing fine. From that, Hanho pieces together. Jesu's companies are being placed on Teju's to soccer. Songwu's staying out. He definitely shouldn't. They step through the shattered entrance. A violent hum erupts under their feet and climbs into their bones. A system message slams into their vision. They've entered the Kobold Sorcerer's Fortress, a dungeon whose entrance just settled behind them, handled it into its narrow storage. But the magic circle blazing forth confirms it's real. A colossal magic circle flares beneath them, searing purple light into the floor. Before Songwu can form a warning, the spell rips through his senses like a blade. Hanho screams as the light swallows him. Teleported away, his cry fades. Every nerve on high alert. The mana in this place is dense and ancient, nothing like the weak kobolds outside. Shadows twist along the walls, forming shapes that watch him from every stone and corner. Somewhere in the deep dark, a low guttural chanting began. Monster den. This is a lair built to trap and devour the strong. As he summons his first skeleton, green fire flaring to life in its hollow sockets, he takes a single step forward and the entire floor ripples with purple runes, activating alarms that haven't rung in ages. Dozens of red eyes ignite in the darkness ahead, every one of them locking onto our hero. At once they got out to the artist again. Dozens of red eyes ignite in the darkness ahead, every one of them locking onto our hero at once. No fear on his face, only the cold, steady calm of a man who has already died once. Whatever this dungeon thinks it's caught, it has no idea what it just dragged inside. Then the fortress roars to life. Every trap and every monster surges toward our Lone Necromancer. This is exactly the pressure test Songwu needed to shatter his current limits. He raises his hand, and behind him, a sea of skeletal warriors rises from the floor like a tide of death. He simply thinks it. Let them come. The first wave of fangs and claws crashes against his bone wall, splintering on impact. Songwu commands from the center, a general orchestrating death. With brutal orchestrating death jumped out. Someone else is still alive in here, and they have been waiting for rescue for a very long time. Ignites a new, colder fury behind Songwu's eyes. He isn't just fighting to escape anymore. He's fighting to pull that prisoner out of the dark. His skeletons shift formation instantly, carving a bloody corridor between the barrier. Bolts of spellfire slam into his shoulder. But he doesn't slow down or around him as he pushes deeper, every step paid for in minion lives. And Songwu sees the faint glimmer of hope in their eyes. That hope is fragile, and this dungeon will snuff it out if he hesitates even once. He roars a command, and a fresh wave of skeletons rises from the dead kobolds at his feet, locking shields around him. Monsters flooding in. But the path forward is clear. Songwu reaches the barrier, places his palm against it, and feels the magic pushback with venomous hate. Spiderwebbing outward in a single breath. One final pulse and the barrier shatters, showering him in shards of fading light. The survivor collapses forward and Songwu catches them, pulling them into the protection of his skeletal guard. The rescue is completed, but the dungeon is far from done, and now 2 lives are on the line. every sound. But Songwoo's friends Hanho and Jisoo are still out there somewhere. He drags a barely alive boy through crumbling halls, cheap potions useless against the deep gashes caused into his flesh. The clock is ticking. Hand and points to a corner swallowed in moss. Two desperate words razz from his lips. A box. Songwoo tears open a half-buried chest, praying for a real healing potion. Instead, his fingers close around something smooth and warm. An electric pulse hums against his palm. Life, labeling it a mysterious egg, but the dense weight of it screams something far more dangerous. Dormant power crackles up Songwoo's spine. Even his skeletons lean in. Drawing out to pond, fly wide with raw urgency. He forces a warning through blood-flecked lips. The boss monster has taken it. Songwoo leans in, brow furrowing. The boy explains. The owner's token, the binding key that locks a class to its user. Songwoo's jaw clenches so hard it aches. The cruelty baked into this world's rules makes him want to break something. Mind. A 5-star Dragon Knight, a legendary rank wasted on a child who never stood a chance. He stares down at the shattered body that should have ruled the skies. A white-hot spike of rage buries itself deeply in his chest. Tragedy that this kid's story bleeds out in a forgotten corner of some nameless dungeon. He was probably just a normal kid hunting supplies when this nightmare swallowed him whole. Now the boss monster holds the very token he needs to survive. A walking death center. A Dragon Knight's power only blooms late. A flower that never got the chance to grow. This world chewed him up and spat him out, like garbage. There's no mystery left. Songwoo knows exactly what he's holding. A dragon egg, alive, thrumming with heat, waiting to hatch under the right master. The boy must have burned his dying strength to point him to the egg, begging Songwoo to finish what he started. Goes down the corridor. A kobold's hunting cry, jagged and hungry for human blood. Another answers with a gurgling roar. Claws scrape against stone. Swelling closer. Ed whips toward the sound, every sense flaring. He will avenge this nameless boy and tear the boss apart. First move. Hunt down the monster that holds the token. 150 gold for a single kobold kill. 4 corpses crumble to dust, and another chime of gold rings in his ear. More kobolds spot him and shriek the alarm. Their panicked cries bouncing off stone. They're throwing their bodies at him like they've already accepted death. He's cutting them down effortlessly, blow after blow, but they keep flooding in. Wave after mindless wave without a flicker of fear. This is pure animal chaos. They aren't buying the boss time. They're swarming mindlessly forward, just like his own undead. A curse rips through Songwoo's clenched teeth. As the reason clicks in, sorcerer steps forward, drunk on its own twisted magic. Now they huddle into a tight formation, thinking their pathetic wall will save them. Songwoo smirks. He's about to shatter it with one swing. Sings through the air. A clean note of death. The sorcerer's theatrics earn it a swift end. 800 gold clinks into his pocket. Another kobold gurgles and drops. The pack surges in from all sides. He's completely surrounded. A system chime echoes. 150 gold for the next fallen. Crunches through a skull. Another 150. And again, the 4th corpse crumbles at his feet. The gold piles up, but the swarm doesn't stop. It's ticking down with ruthless precision. 20 seconds left to stop a cataclysmic instant death spell. And Songwoo Yu just shattered the first dungeon core. But 2 more remain, and one of them is hiding somewhere he never expected. A mountain of kobold corpses proves she's been tearing through this dungeon like a force of nature. Songwoo shatters the 2nd core, the system confirming they're 2 for 3 now. A piercing shriek echoes from deeper in the store, and he orders Jisoo to hunt down Hanho and Kyonsu, while he heads for the roof. Or he can sprint off. Hanho bursts through the debris, demanding to know what the hell is happening. Sharpens. There's no time for explanations. He rallies everyone to move. The system's relentless warning blares through the dungeon. Stop the boss before the timer hits 0. Halt the intruders. Their voices cracking with panic. Time is bleeding away fast, and Hanho spots the final core first, pointing frantically across the chaos. A desperate kobold throws itself in their path, screaming that they shall not pass. Songwoo locks onto the target with a guttural roar, cutting down a guard midstream track. And a sharp crack rings out as the core's protective shell splinters under their assault. The third core shatters, and the system confirms it. All 3 cores destroyed with just over 9 minutes left to end the boss. The force field fizzles out with a sharp electric buzz, and release washes over the team, shutting down that instant death spell for good. But when someone suggests corpse explosion would make the boss easy, Songwoo shakes his head. The boss already saw that trick and will expect it. Someone jokes about blowing up objects instead of corpses to level the whole building, for a seed in Songwoo's mind, but he brushes it aside and orders a regroup, becoming unbearable. As the timer flashes a terrifying 2-minute warning, Songwoo takes a sharp breath. The next move will decide everything. The boss freezes mid-ritual, its eyes bulging with utter disbelief. What's wrong? Did they break its concentration? The creature throws its head back, releasing a furious howl that shakes the walls. Its rage explodes outward as bark-like skin splits, a monstrous new form tearing its way out from within. The system announces the true boss. The fallen tree spirit has entered the fight. To begin with, vines thick as pythons erupt from the tree spirit's back, each one crackling with dark ancient energy. A warning cry splits the air as one massive vine comes crashing down like a falling building. The floor explodes right where Hannah stood its head, alive with her incendiary blade. She ignites her weapon, flames roaring to life, but the boss is already rearing back for a brutal counterstrike. Songwoo screams for her to get clear, but it's already too late. A sickening impact echoes through the store as the aspect catches bark, and a brutal backhand sends Jisoo crashing into a shelf, her body falling completely limp. Panic ripples through the group. Is she gone already? Someone shouts for Songwoo to use his resurrection spell right now. The wounds seal up, and the boss heals right before their horrified eyes. The creature roars and lashes out, sending another ally flying. Hanho gets swatted aside like a rag doll, and those savage wounds across the boss's trunk, sealing and unrealizing their casting. Hacking no matter what. A low hiss escapes his lips as he confirms the enemy's mana is finally tapped out. He reveals he's been running the Devil's Bloodstone this entire fight, and now every hit starts eating into its actual health. Calm but deadly signal. And from the shadows, rows of hidden skeletons snap to attention. He shouts for everyone to pull back right now. The ceiling groans as the first cataclysmic blast tears through the monster's trunk. A gutter, agonized roar rips from the tree spirit, and the actions of the trap of skeletons. He's been holding his true army in reserve. A single devastating word echoes through the battlefield. Detonate. The entire horde of skeletons detonates at once. A cataclysmic chain of explosions that rips the bosses apart from the inside out. Down the crumbling ceiling, burying the shrieking monstrosity under tons of rubble. The system chimes, nearly 13,000 gold for defeating the true boss, and Songwoo levels up to 10 on the spot. He didn't expect the level up, but that monster must have been carrying an insane amount of experience. He's earned a roulette ticket for hitting level 10, and as the 69th person to reach the milestone, his rank gets bumped to infinite status, limited to just 100 people. By 5, a terrifying boost to his army. The skill window populates, revealing Death's Rip Response, a basic active skill that summons 10 masterless zombies straight from the abyss. Independent of his minion cap, he stares at the skill window, 5 undead at once. And he found the Dragon Knight's token, a prize promising even greater power. He knows with absolute certainty he will definitely be able to beat those vampires. That's how long Songwoo must wait just to crack open the mysterious egg. But the masterless sword in his hands doesn't care about class restrictions. It offers brutal power right now, and he vows to drive this blade straight through every vampire's heart. Screen flickers. Still alive. Relief loosens the knot in Songwoo's throat, but his friend's plan is pure madness. Hanho intends to use himself as bait, slipping right into the vampire's safety zone, to monitor the battlefield death. Riddled with frantic typos. The gist: no vampires in the open. Songwoo's eyes narrow. An uneasy pressure builds. The answer crashes into the feed like thunder. 2 werewolf corpses lie in the dirt. Songwoo already knows how those werewolves died. He commands the dead now. 5 of them rise, hollow eyes igniting with dark energy. He tallies his forces. Werbears, vampire thralls, or kobolds, or co-warriors. A kobold swirling over means. He tallies his forces, werbears, and kobold sorcerer. 15 minutes later. The words leave his lips like a death sentence. He's going to finish off every last vampire. Meanwhile, deep inside the so-called safety zone, a bored vampire lounges against a wall, complaining he's bored open. He turns off a trans figure and points at a transfer stage beyond what the animals are standing on. A senior vampire screams that they're hunting the bastards who attacked the factory. One underling protests. The Lord said after the feast, but things have changed. Presence is a splinter under their skin. The vampire sneers in disbelief. Does this guy not realize they run this area? The order is absolute. Kill him before he ruins the feast. The pack snaps to attention. Their lazy lounging erupts it, filling the streets outside the elementary school. One of the scouts stops dead. He drags his commander's attention towards something half buried in the dirt, a mangled direwolf corpse. The blood is still fresh, and werewolf claws carved deep. Cursed minions. The creature was turned into a dire wolf and cut down without mercy. A message left behind. One of them sniffs the air, catching the metallic tang of blood winding through the streets. The trail pulls their eyes toward a looming auditorium. In the Senate, a manager get taken out by a loser like this. All this blood will attract every monster in the city. The scout urges his commander forward. The blood trail snakes right toward that auditorium. Do not let him get away. The order turns savage. Kill him quickly. Their commander reassures them, only watch out for werewolf skeletons. The rest are cannon fodder. He estimates 5 werewolves at most. They close in on the auditorium doors, confidence swelling the vampire. He estimates 5 werewolves at once. Arrogant confidence shoving them forward. The vampire master bursts through and screams at Songwoo to say his prayers and die. But the bluster dies in his throat. Something is wrong. He stumbles, blurting out their phone. Hugs it off with a mocking sneer, asking if the kid has showered lately. They all laugh as Songwoo turns and runs. Oh look, they scared him. One howls with laughter, calling him a moron for running into a dead end. It's through the air. Our boy does not flinch. His voice rings out clear and absolute. He swears he will definitely beat those vampires. The vampire master's head snaps back from the force of the punch. This place will be their final resting place. The vampire reels, spitting blood, unable to comprehend he got hit by a bare-knuckled necromancer. Songwoo's eyes flash with cold satisfaction. He knew they would come sniffing after him. Their intel is tragically incomplete. He doesn't just command a pile of bones. From his fingertips, a massive warning blasts across the area. The Great Spirit has been activated. The vampires barely have time to react before a second catastrophic warning triggers. From the darkness, groans of zombies rise in a hungry chorus. Nobody said anything about zombies. Songwoo savors the horror in their eyes. All vampires are the same, killing players for just 2,000 gold. He takes a slow step forward, his shadow devouring the light. The formation locks into place with brutal precision. A hidden squad synergy activates, boosting attack and defense by 500 points each. Curse of Death, Curse of Weakening, Devil's Bloodstone. The debuffs stack one after another. The vampire's final screams are swallowed by bones and dark. Challenger lunges from the smoke. His fist slams into Songwoo's barrier, cratering the ground beneath. The explosion rips through, yet our boy stands unfazed, a cold smirk on his face. Hanho stares into Spink. And why is Songwoo laughing? Songwoo spreads his arms wide, daring the vampire to throw everything he has. That snaps his head back, but instead of falling, our boy grunts in disgust and commands the bloodsucker to get his filthy hands off him. The vampire's eyes widen with manic glee as he finally realizes this is the necromancer controlling the undead nightmare. Rage twists his face. If he had known so much about the fighting lawn. The vampire's eyes widen with manic glee as he finally realizes this is the necromancer controlling the undead nightmare. Rage twists his face. If he had known so much about the undead nightmare. Rage twists his face. Only one figure remains and sharpens to a single point. All he has to do is take Songwoo's head, and the entire army collapses with him. Mutters that all they can do is sit tight and wait for the vampires to walk into the trap. Seongwoo points to a specific spot across the clearing and directs Hanho to stand perfectly still. The moment stretches, nothing happens. Our boy clicks his tongue, admitting that it knows it's not happening. Our boy clicks his tongue, admitting the experiment failed. He shrugs. Technically, Hanho is still just animated bones, not a corpse. Evaded death's response across the entire zone. The air ripples with dark energy, and Songwoo gives a satisfied nod until the energy backfires, sending him stumbling with a pained yelp. A nearby enemy erupts into a pillar of agony, screaming in absolute terror. And explains the deadly logic. Moving skeletons count as minions, but the moment they stop moving, the curse identifies them as exploitable corpses. The situation holds for a moment, then he bursts into laughter at the sight of a vampire spontaneously combusting and crashing to the ground, the dirt, shrieking a murderous promise right through the flames engulfing his face. Gasps of smoke, swearing his master is more terrifying than anything Songwoo can imagine. Our boy watches the light die in the fanatic's eyes and mutters in disgust. How quickly the vampire lord brainwashed this poor soul. In just a few days, the moment holds. The number 3? Immediately. Another uneasy beat. Then a single word drops like a hammer, and the energy in the air shifts. Two of our heroes lock eyes with perfect synchronization. Their combined strikes tears through the enemy ranks. In one devastating moment, guards. No wonder he's in such a hurry to catch them. The tables have turned. Songwoo's voice drips with grim satisfaction as he orders final annihilation, commanding his undead legion to drag the stragglers down into the dirt where they belonged. Pointing toward a horrifying silhouette in the distance. The word echoes through the crowd. Werewolves hanging like slaughtered livestock. Chilling awe settles over everyone. As someone wonders aloud just how monstrous the person happened, the werewolf swam from the branches, like a warning hand. For time to move. This ambush was always part of the long game. A nervous sergeant tries to calm the crowd, insisting they disarm for what they truly are. Thralls working for the vampires. Dawns. They aren't confiscating weapons for safety. They're disarming the livestock to make the slaughter easier. And a shout rings out demanding order, but the line has already dissolved into terrified madness. Panic erupts like wildfire. One of the traitors grins, admitting the infiltration was simple since Yongshik's 2-star swordsman reputation made perfect cover. A co-conspirator slinks forward, asking about the special delivery he requested. Every last bit of deadly contraband was arranged exactly as asked. He waves the next person forward with a chilling smile, warning them not even to bother hiding their weapons. Then panic seizes a group of survivors pointing toward the sky, blocks out the moonlight, and a terrified whisper asks. A collective gasp sweeps through the crowd as the terrifying silhouette fully reveals itself. Declares the sight utterly unbelievable. A vampire lieutenant rages from the shadows, demanding to know how his entire hunting party was crushed so effortlessly. Jisoo grabs Hano, hissing that the masks are there to hide the biting fangs underneath. Shadows, hearts pounding, knowing they just have to survive long enough for Songwoo to arrive. A survivor stumbles backward, pointing a trembling finger at the monstrous figure descending upon the shelter. Screaming the name, the vampire lord. Every ounce of warm blood in the room runs cold, as they realize he is the master puppeteer behind the shelter's toe. And the next move feels inevitable. They're completely surrounded. The cold truth hits. Humans stopped evolving. They are destined to be sacrificed for the next stage of evolution. A madman's twisted philosophy sinks in, and the shelter falls into horrified silence. Vampires raise their glasses in a sickening toast, celebrating the massacre as their grand feast. But just as the first fangs sink toward flesh, a strange hum cuts through the screams. A dazzling wall of blue lightning erupts between predators. And as bandwidth specter his own, can barely believe their eyes as the killing field flips into a death trap for their hunters. This is an electric barrier item, a voice announces. A stunned vampire asks who the hell she is and why she has a weapon. Then someone points at the bus that just crashed in. Technology wins the day, but the barrier deactivates and the survivors are told to run. Chaos erupts as the vampires realize their food is escaping. You bastard! A voice roars. On the bus, crashing the vampire banquet without an ounce of fear. Jisoo feels a surge of relief so powerful it nearly buckles her knees. The vampire lord locks eyes with this uninvited guest, and the air crackles with murder. It's a declaration of war. Forget the rest. Help our lord deal with that bastard. A vampire shouts. Just smiles. There's no need to yell. I can count on my teammates over there. The vampire lord laughs at the idea of teammates in a hellscape, but our necromancer doesn't flinch. Hands hang in the air, a challenge that darkens the vampire's eyes. A werewolf skeleton lunges, but the vampire lord flicks it away like a bothersome insect. It's me, do you? Song-woo isn't watching the bone shatter, he's watching the space behind it, waiting for his real move. He tilts his head with a grim smile. The trap is set. This party started for real. The ground beneath the vampire lord's feet roils with unholy energy. Goblin corpses detonate. Boom. Rocks the shelter. The vampire lord, someone screams. Followers panic, but one tries to steady the ranks. Last zone, only to find scattered remains and acrid smoke. Their lord has vanished, leaving his panicked followers alone to face the reckoning. Like that, Song-woo says. He snaps his fingers and the mountain of monster corpses detonates in a chain reaction, turning the vampire ranks into a screaming inferno. Our hero doesn't even flinch. Through the flames, their predator confidence shattered, and then the smoke clears just enough to reveal the vampire lord rising from the carnage. His composure finally cracked. Vampire demands. Another female vampire squares up to Jisoo, fangs glinting. You've got some nerve picking a fight with me. But before she can move, Sergeant Kim's jaw drops as Song-woo descends into the shelter, his dark coat billowing through fire and smoke. This isn't a rescue. This is a one-man extermination squad, and he's just getting warmed up. Swagger evaporates the second her eyes lock onto Song-woo. He stands there, a silent promise of death. Hanho whispers the bloodsuckers are terrified, scattering like roaches. Our necromancer doesn't even blink. A bad feeling prickles at the back of her neck, a warning she can't ignore. Hanho shoots her a look that screams, "Are you serious?" Her foresight always invites disaster. Then Song-woo takes a slow step forward. His voice dips into a register that freezes the air itself, locking the vampires in place. In the mood for a fight. Surrender peacefully, he suggests. The sheer casualness lands like a slap across every undead face, but what he doesn't realize yet, that offer is about to backfire. Our boy tilts his head and offers them a second option: stick around and become his personal experience farm. Jisoo throws her arms up in pure agony as the vampire's fear twists into bloodlust. Her panic spills out theatrically. Hanho's soul nearly leaves his body. His mind races through escape routes. But his first rays of despair. She shouts at Hanho to jump in together while they still have a chance. This small mistake triggers the next disaster. Hanho lunges forward before his brain can object, but the vampire whirls around with a screech that freezes him mid-step. A pathetic yowl escapes his throat, into slits of wounded pride. Being called weak really hurts his feelings. He growls, every word dripping with sarcastic venom. That insult lands like a knife across his ego. Pray him. Muscles twist, bones crack as his true form rips through. He snarls down at Hanho with freshly bared fangs. Still way stronger than vermin, he sneers, and our rogue friend suddenly feels very, very small. Wild swing, stumbling backward as the vampire's shriek shreds through the battlefield like tearing metal. Jisoo watches the attack whistle past Hanho's ear. A grin breaks through her fear. She's already shifting her weight, ready to counter the vampire's over. A grin breaks through her fear. She's already shifting her weight. It's Mark. But then the air warps. The vampire launches himself skyward, abandoning the ground entirely. That's when everything changes. Hanho's jaw drops. Every survival instinct screams that launches into the air is suicide. A death wish made fixed. Glee. A body hanging helpless in the air with nowhere to dodge. That's exactly what this means. She drives her blade upward with everything she's got, a battle cry tearing from her throat, with savage intensity. The strike lands clean, to triumph, barely believing the words coming out of his own mouth. Jisoo stares at the vampire's crumpled form, adrenaline still shaking through her limbs. She shouts at Hanho that they make a better team than she ever thought possible. And then the realization crashes down on her body's task. Ration cuts short as he frantically pats his pockets, checking his status window. The gold fails to appear. His voice pitches into pure desperation. The vampire twitches on the ground, fury contorting his torn face into something barely human. His claws fly to the gashes across his beautiful face. How dare these insects mar his perfect skin? He shrieks the words directly at Jisoo, all pretense of control as well. How dare these insects mar has crumpled into ash. Falls over the field, but the victory feels hollow, almost ominous. Dust settles and the air turns heavy with a suffocating pressure. The true nightmare emerges from the shadows. The vampire lord himself descends on the battlefield. With deliberate, crushing authority, Announces the shift, and every instinct in our heroes' bodies screams danger at a frequency that rattles their bones. The vampire lord thrusts out his palm. A sphere of condensed blood magic explodes across the battlefield, carrying the malice of centuries compressed into a single attack. The detonation rattles bones and cracks the earth beneath their feet. The shockwave tears through everything in its radio. He doesn't waste a second to gloat. He blitzes forward, claws extended, ready to rip through whatever flesh stands in his way. The air screams as his talons carve through the space Hando occupied. Half a heartbeat earlier, death misses him by a whisper. In Songwoo's bones, the vampire lord's claws carve 3 werewolf skeletons to dust. Songwoo snaps at his skeletons. Stay back, spears only. This monster nearly erased Hando. Now he preaches the strong ruling the weak, calling himself evolved. Only a contemptible killer. Scene 1, the vampire lord roars that the system freed him. A serial killer, they called him, but now he's chosen. Songwoo lets out a dry laugh. Bullshit, he says. The vampire lord counters their proof of evolution. A dangerous smile spreads across Songwoo's face. Then we old humans will kill you all. Madame Yang's arrogance crumbles as Jisu's blade presses against her throat. Lord, she cries, but no help comes. Jisoo breathes her name like a death sentence. The vampire shrieks, "This can't happen. I'm more evolved than you." Air again and again. How can she be losing to a mere child? Her mind rejects reality. Madame Yang gasps, blood trickling from another cut. She tells herself the human is still weaker, but why can't she land a single blow? Jisoo flows like water. Every life or death hunt has sharpened her instincts. Her growth wasn't handed by the system. It's earned through real combat. Jisoo reads every muscle twitch before the attack. You've just been sitting on your ass, old lady. The words come from your ass. Old lady. The words come from your ass, 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 old lady. Her new life coasting on borrowed power. Her attacks are simple, monotonous, just flailing arms. Jisoo sidesteps each wild swing with contemptuous ease. Sound escapes as steel meets the vampire's midsection. Madame Yang shrieks, "Damn it!" Weak, Jisoo breathes, twisting the blade. The vampire's screams dissolve into incoherent wailing. "Lord, help me," she whimpers. But her master offers no aid. He has his own problems. Jisoo's mind already moves ahead. Once Hano evocates everything and separates him, with a rest from Madame Yang's crumpled body, blood dripping from her blade. One down, but the real monster still looms. The vampire lord admits, "You're pretty tough. Be a waste to kill you. Would you like to become vampires like us?" Hanho's face pales. Flat. "You want us to become vampires." The vampire lord recalls choosing cards in the tutorial, but now he suggests another choice. The best way to survive, the vampire lord whispers, is to be a parasite. None of us had ever been in a fight. We were just regular people. You know everything. We were just regular people universally. People like us supposed to survive. His words hang like poison, rage simmering beneath his calm. The system didn't break his world. It liberated him from a cage built by inferior creatures. And theatrical display, disgust flickering behind his eyes. He's heard this script before. The lonely outcast mistaking persecution for destiny. The vampire lord's crimson gaze locks onto them, seeing potential conflicts. Then the pressure breaks. A faintest smile curls his lips. The battlefield falls silent. Whatever answer comes next will shake the foundations of this ruined world. As Songwoo speaks, 1 millimeter. The vampire lord's eyes bulge too late. Our boy never aimed for him. Every shred of focus was locked on that single goblin. Just as the nightmare unfolds. That arrow wasn't a misfire. It was the key turning inside the lock. Scene 1, the moment that goblin dies, Songwoo becomes invincible. The vampire shrieks and swings a high speed, and tearing through his brittle body. It connects, but our hero doesn't even flinch. Fear finally breaks across the enemy's face. Songwoo confesses with a sly grin. He's been boosting agility this whole time, strictly for running away or gracefully dodging everything. Do you understand now? You can't escape from me. A chilling laugh echoes as the vampire realizes he's been nothing more than a toy. Damage. Just die already. Every desperate punch just bounces off. Then his confidence evaporates. Teamwork slams him from every angle. Combo strikes, blunt impacts, spear wounds draining his blood in a brutal rhythm. He can't track them all. A massive, quick-footed shield crashes into the vampires, rifting lightningling into chaos, limbs turning to lead. This isn't good. He clings to the idea that the power-up has a time limit, but his trembling hands betray him. Then Songwoo lets out a single, quiet laugh. Goblins. The question hangs heavy. Where did that goblin come from? A wave of relief washes through our boy. Hanho caught the one that could have ruined everything. Jisoo watches from the shadows, heart hammering. Puppet master, but anxiety claws at her chest. Meanwhile, Songwoo realizes every fallen body feeds his necromantic strength. He turns the vampire's twisted philosophy back on him. True survival doesn't come from feeding on the powerful. It happens through teamwork, and it also comes from feeding on the powerful. Not crawling at monsters' feet, but standing shoulder to shoulder. With love and peace, the words ring out so defiantly the air seems to hum. The vampire lord chokes on his rage. You're just ganging up on me, you filthy assholes. He shrieks at his fallen minions, but the cracks in his armor show. Songwoo declares coolly, you vampires aren't so tough, you're even weaker than the humans you look down on. The lord snarls he was only keeping him breathing for a chat. But he's heard enough. Songwoo's hand clamps down, seizing the vampire's wrist in an unbreakable grip. You can't use weapons. Dissects him aloud. First, it's a class penalty. Vampires can't wield weapons, making them vulnerable to any long-range fighter. Second, their regeneration makes them weak on physical defense. They never learn to truly take a hit. 30, their movements are big and wasteful. Arrogance bleeding through every sloppy technique. The vampire barks back, but the truth cuts deep. They need blood for every skill, every drop of regeneration. Songwoo leans in with a cruel smile. You didn't even notice something was leeching your very life force away this whole time. The Devil's Bloodstone, allegedly orb that steals mana on attack. And when mana's tapped out, it leeches healthy in stone. Domain erupts, trying to recharge, lunging feral. The vampire's bloodshot eyes dart down. A dead goblin's corpse shatters his last hope. Songwoo continues, voice devoid of mercy. Fifth, you talk too much. Final form, one-armed warrior, Perry Brouth. The name drops like a guillotine. Appearances, and that shallow arrogance is why you're already a corpse. The vampire sputters, humiliation absolute. Then, the sound hangs in the air. A promise. The pressure only grows as the next move feels enough. At his own face, blindness consumes him. Regeneration dies, starved of blood. Hanho's voice slashes through the chaos. Finish him off. Footsteps close in like a death knell. Our boy songs forward. Predator calm as genuine terror. Footsteps close in like a death knell. Our boy songs forward. Predator calm as genuine terror. Our boy songs forward while ever grips his enemy. Rebels. Die. Absurd. He was meant to rule the world. Desperation flares as he sniffs the air like a cornered beast. Blood. Somewhere nearby. He shoves through the crowd, blind panic, driving him into the darkness. Fleeing. But the monster vanishes. Frustration boils over. The prize slips through their fingers. He remembers the werewolf corpses hanging at the boundary line. A grim warning, now the vampire lord's only hope. But the blood, already drained dry. Songwoo steps from the shadows, voice laced with frosty amusement. Came from corpses just like these. The well is empty. Not a single drop left for you, bloodsucker. The vampire lord freezes as the truth crashes down like a guillotine blade. A countdown inside his skull. Pure panic locks every muscle. This is wrong. He was supposed to lead a new humanity, not die as a sacrifice. Then the world erupts. Fireworks ignite at his feet. Here's the final verdict. A deadly party deserves to end exactly as it began, with fireworks. A thunderous detonation swallows every scream. The sky explodes into brutal beauty. Where is he? Dark flames and endless ash, the nightmare he truly deserves. His voice fractures into a broken plea. No, this can't be permanent. Tombstone. Welcome to hell. in 0. Then a cheerful chime, gold floods in. The quest No Country for Wicked Men is complete. 30,000 gold as C-rank item ticket. And the true prize unlocks, and exclusive questions are being done. Raid bosses really do provide the best loot. Hano's voice explodes with joy. He screams Seongwoo's name, pride ringing louder than any explosion. Seongwoo fires back with exasperation, but relief pulses underneath. Hano slaps his shoulder with brotherly pride. Jisoo emerges, bow slung over her shoulder, a rare knowing smile cracking her stoic mask. Survivors creep from the ruins, whispers gathering like a wave, every finger pointing toward the Lone Necromancer. Then a soldier from the approaching military squad freezes. Jabs his finger, opens the watches of Seongwoo, feels the crushing weight of 1,000 stares. People murmur, is he really the one who took down the vampire lord? No one understands how, but they can't deny the truth. He saved them all and recognized us, and had the vampire rescued us and handed out food. Hanho nudges Seongwoo with a smirk. Quite a few people know them now, but a new group approaches, uniformed, disciplined. Hushed confusion ripples through the crowd. Who are they? The military squad halts, eyes scanning the survivors. No one moves. The weight of the moment presses down on Seongwoo. The silence deepens. Seconds tick by, but no one breaks the stillness. Seongwoo holds his ground, waiting. The crowd holds its breath. Then, nothing. This quiet moment is heavy with what comes next. But for now, the story holds its cards close. And that's where we leave them. It closes in. Seongwoo can't help but grin. After all that chaos, it's finally time to check the spoils. Gold totals blaze before his eyes, and dark power spirals into a cage of living ivory armor. At Scene 1, his skeletons can wear that same bone armor now. Their defense is about to skyrocket. And then the quest reward drops. A dwarven repeating crossbow, heroic rank, with a dimensional quiver that fires endlessly. Perfect for a commander who orchestrates death from a distance. But that's pure emergency backup. Our boy evolved more in a single day than most people do in a lifetime. Right now, he feels like he could crush anyone. Never again will he freeze on the sidelines. About to shatter. Seongwoo, a searing vision rips through his mind without warning. His mother and father thrash inside an inferno, their faces melting with agony. They scream for him to save them, lurches into his throat. Dad? Mom? They beg, you've grown stronger. Hurry. But the flames only grow hotter. The nightmare grips him, and he can't shake the feeling that he's failing them all over again. Are you really running away from us again? The accusation echoes. Our boy lurches upright, drenched in freezing sweat, his lungs clawing for air as the ghost fires still prickle across his skin. Sergeant Kim has returned, standing right outside with the exact same soldiers from yesterday. Seongwoo mutters, tell him to hang on a moment, just a little bit stronger so he never has to abandon someone to save his own skin. Ever getting up in the head. The door is about to burst. Seongwoo mutters, cuts through. Is he in there? Move aside. Lieutenant Major Taeyoung Park pushes past, demanding, are you the necromancer? Seongwoo just says, odds. Go ahead. The lieutenant major leans in, ready to lay down his demands. Authority, we tracked that suspicious faction at Hwaseong's Hangung Square for days. You obliterated them, correct? The lieutenant major needs every detail. And then he wants Seongwoo. His fingers curling into a fist. He barely crawled out of hell alive. Every scar on his body throbs with the memory of being cast aside while innocent screams echoed in the distance. He's not about to trade one set of chains for another. Emergency, martial law, conscription. With your capabilities, you'd receive far better treatment. The officer smirks condescendingly. But Seongwoo fires back. The government has completely collapsed. You're way too late for that. The lieutenant major's gaze sharpens. He mentions a prosecutor in Yongdong-po who rejects government authority, a rogue who rescued civilians, established Korea's first official guild, built a safety zone, and even took down a boss monster. Frankly, he's formidable. That name echoes in the air. The lieutenant major continues. Every citizen should rally behind the military. Enlist and become a genuine hero. The rewards are The officer's bloated promises dissolve into muffled noise as Songwoo's mind echoes with his parents' dying shrieks. A monologue like a blade, silent fury radiating from every tense muscle. He steps forward and delivers his answer with a calm so chilling it sucks the air from the room. He refuses without a flicker of hesitation. The lieutenant major's face erupts into crim's rage, hands drifting toward their sidearms as the tension snaps dangerously tight, and then a bone-rattling roar tears through the compound, shaking the windows. Outside, civilians scatter in primal panic as a monster's shadow swallows the sky, a creature far beyond any boss monster. The lieutenant major's bluster evaporates. Songwoo strides right past the paralyzed soldiers, a grim smile ghosting across his lips as his minions emerge from the darkness at his back. This is only the beginning. A reckoning is coming, and not a single soul stands out to me. Streets, stealing the credit for a rescue they never fought for. Hanho chokes on bitter laughter as Jisoo finds comfort in their presence, desperate to believe in some authority. But Songwoo knows better. One glance at the trembling private, and he names the man's inner circle. The game just tilted. Scene 1, the private hides behind the word classified like a child cowering under a blanket. Songwoo's dry chuckle cuts through the excuse. He's never served a day, so why would military secrets mean anything? Audacity. But Jisoo feels a cold twist in her gut. Something is deeply wrong. An officer steers them toward Director Che's offices, and Songwoo's patience burns away. He remembers the commander's arrogance demand that he enlists a wound that is a Songwoo apologizes for the political storm crashing around him. Kim waves it off, but when our hero asks if the commander sent him to recruit, shame flickers across the sergeant's face. The real conversation hasn't started yet. Sergeant Kim finally admits the ugly truth. They're desperate for Songwoo's. To a whisper. A top-secret matter, something far heavier than base politics. He snaps an order, and a terrified soldier scrambles out. A pathetic sob trailing behind him. Songwoo's, ancient sharpened strand. Kim disappears through a reinforced door, dragging Dread behind him. When he returns, the confession hits like a hammer. This leak could get them both executed. But the soldiers are so shadowed no one will even notice. Gratitude is cheap currency when executing their draft behind him. When he returns, the confession hits like a hammer. The shadows are so shadowed no one will even notice. Gratitude is cheap currency when executing their balance. Must be catastrophic. Kim motions him into a hidden chamber. The air pulses with sickening weight before his eyes even land on the source. A single pulsating stone. Songwoo gasps his fragmented visions. Clothing on the leg. Grim reverence. Prophecy stones scattered across the globe. Touch one and the coming apocalypse floods your mind. Knowledge is the only real weapon. A cryptic string flickers across the stone surface. FHSGMTMPE. Colon 3. You've touched the prophecy stone. The instant his fingertips touch the cold stone, a violent shockwave detonates inside his skull. KRRSSH. The whole world convulses as the planet itself seems to split. Songwoo forces his gaze upward, and there's no sky. Only a bleeding wound convulses as the planet itself. Songwoo forces his gaze upward, and there's no sky, only a bleeding wound. Conwell, but only suffocating silence answers. Feet. Above him, a skeletal wyvern shrieks, its rotted wings blotting out what's left of the cursed sky. No flesh clings to the beast, only bone animated by unholy force. His gaze drops to the ground. An endless sea of corpses. He writhes under a plague of shambling undead. Gwangwaman stands like a tombstone, the heart of the nation reduced to smoldering ruins. A chilling realization grips him. This isn't just one city. It's the whole world, broken and silent under ash. Elf and Jisoo standing together. Their reflections turn demonic. Hollow eyes stare from faces crawling with black veins. His own neck is covered in the same living curse. And then he sees the puppet master. The Lich King rises from a throne of skulls. His own neck is covered in the same living curse. If this horror is the end goal, the game was rigged from the start. A sudden impact rocks his body. A wall of hellfire erupts. Swallowing the scene, the Lich King's skeletal hand unleashes a torrent that devours city blocks. A sudden impact rocks his body, erupts. Swallowing the scene, the Lich King's skeletal hand unleashes a torrent that devours city blocks. Swallowing the scene, The Lich King's skeletal hand unleashes a torrent that devours city blocks like dry kindling. The cataclysmic roar builds to a deafening crescendo as an expanding sphere of pure destruction consumes everything in its path. Boom! As the vision crumbles, 4 damning words sear into his retinas. The advent of hell. Songwoo rips his hand away, the vision's poison still burning in his chest. Sergeant Kim's voice trembles. He saw a skeleton army slaughtering innocents, and his first thought was of the necromancer before him. A question notification hammers in. Seize the Grim Reaper's scythe, achieve first, stage tension hammers in. 15 or become a puppet forever. A savage grin twists his lips as he accepts the impossible challenge without hesitation. Kim catches that unhinged confidence and silently thanks the heavens this monster is on their side. Songwoo's voice cuts like a blade. He needs the location of a boss monster. On the moment the first main quest kicked off, each guarding a mountain of rewards. He's avoided them until now, but every wasted second drags the apocalypse closer. Killing them is the fastest shortcut to power. Kim clenches his jaw and nods. There's one. The very beast keeps the battalion commander awake at night. This zone is impossible without an awakened player like Songwoo. Our hero delivers his response like a king's order. Go tell him. Kim's eyes blow wide at the audacity, but Songwoo adds the catch. He's not running a charity. Gold, paid in full. Right now, our hero never fights for free, and every soul in this room is about to learn that lesson. Who does this lunatic think he is? But the battalion commander's jaw locks tight. Every man drowns in humiliation. A lone necromancer, Songwoo Yu, is strong-arming the entire military. They know they're outmatched. No fear. They charge into death without flinching. Songwoo rebuilds his ranks from any corpse and detonates bodies on command. One man outguns a battalion. The officers gasp at the cost. 100,000 gold. Songwoo. He keeps promises, hiring him spare soldiers. 2 days' income, but the airstrip is worth it. Everyone remembers the nightmare beast that turned the landing strip into a slaughterhouse. The colonel threw dozens of players at that monster, all wiped out in 10 minutes. But controlling the skies means safe troop movement, and one officer sees his promotion. Finally, the commander swallows pride. Pay the man. Heavy gold sacks slam onto the table, coins scraped from every grunt, songs and speech, negotiation. A notification, 100,000 gold received. The company commander begs him to launch fast. Songwoo's eyes lock on him. That monster is already dead in his mind. To tear the beast from its throne, he'll hand the airstrip back. But the commander stresses, the airport must stay intact. Aircraft are in the hangar. No margin for error. A gasp. He's the sole survivor from the last assault. Jinuk Kang introduces himself as Songwoo's assistant. He asks about level. If you're lower than me, I'll be ticked. Songwoo answers, I'm level 10. Kang's jaw drops. How did you grind to level 10? I farm orcs non-stop and can't crack that ceiling. Songwoo shows he'll level more in 3 days. Feeling the ghost of his failure, someone asks where Songwoo is. They hope the necromancer keeps shielding them. With factory survivors, even more lives hang in the balance. Kyung-soo only activates the safety zone when danger's nearer than ever. No plan doesn't happen. The ground broke in. They're building a town from the ashes. All these people survived, and they have skills. Construction, fighting. But Hano watches and feels guilt. On the conviction he'll fail. He insists it's not his idea. He's just following Songwoo's orders. He doesn't deserve praise. He already crashed as a leader. Reckless call. Then a voice slices through Hanho's spiral, firm and unflinching. She looks at the broken man and sees the leader he could become. You stepped up when others froze. That took guts. Trust yourself again. She tells him to rise up. Hano thanks her but says he doesn't want the job. It's her burden now. Thrums through the air. The ground trembles as Songwoo's skeletons smash into the enemy line. Bam! It's a massacre. 3 humans and 1 skeleton are easy prey, and get carved to ribbons. Jisoo surges forward with the Great Spirit's power. If one slips away, a horde comes. The Great Spirit finishes totally in ice. Massive swarm cresting the ridge. Songwoo triggers corpse explosion, turning the assault into a fireball. AAR. Wu watches. This is how they clean house now. Silence drapes the field. Then a strange alien glow pulses, humming with transformation, pulled by a phantom hammer etched into ancient stone. A smithy's mark, singing to his legendary items. Just how earth-shattering will the result be? On a system panel demanding 100,000 gold and a 29% chance his legendary orbs vanish into nothing. He doesn't hesitate. He orders the fusion. A violent vortex of mana twists. And when the light dies, a new crystal pulses with eerie power. But is this a triumph or a trap? Crystal, a legendary orb granting the chaos attribute, pumping mana by 500 with staggering recovery, and draining 300 mana and health per strike. Jisoo gasps. This is nothing like the devil attribute. Songwoo admits it's a shame it didn't break down world. Has his own combination. He slams a fire whetstone and incendiary blade together. Flames roar and sparks fly. He brandishes a C-class ignition effect. Every hit now sets enemies ablaze. Song nods and prays. Song nods and stares. But the window flashes blood red and her attempt crumbles to nothing. She stands at the empty slot, bitter disappointment crashing down. She stammers, insisting on buying something from the store. Desperate hope. But then the group finds the store wrecked. Hollow. What happened? Cold dread settles in. Is the store gone? Songwoo realizes blocking the entrance was pointless. Hanho's fury erupts. Who would do this? No mindless monster did this. Scrawled in blood on the wall, a chilling pledge. Pathetic humans die and a new species rises. The message drips with malice, but also chilling intelligence. This was no mere beast. Songwoo runs his fingers over the battle. That writes like a human sounds like a nightmare. Songwoo's jaw tightens. They need to regroup. Heading back to town now. As they arrive, a weak groan echoes from a wounded soldier. He tries to speak, but the words choke off into a gurgle. Songwoo and shouts his name. Songwoo strides over, surprised. Kim explains they're on a group quest. Their duty now, the words group quest catch Songwoo's ear. Reaps all rewards. Songwoo asks, so soldiers get nothing? Kim's face tightens, anger burning. He had monsters respawn from somewhere. A never-ending meat grinder. Zero clue where the monsters spawned. Kim's voice drops to a whisper. He prays it's not true. A nearby soldier erupts. There's no point dying like this. Songwoo asks, did anyone run? Deserted, but without buffs the outside is death, so attempts died. The army's iron rule. Deserters are executed. Soldiers toil under armed watch. Gold siphoned to the top. The army has become a slaver's operation, stripping coins and blocking the forum. But they cling to old chains. That's why he believes the Yongdangpo Prosecutors Guild will outgrow them. Songwoo cuts the reflection short. They need to move. He tells Kim to bring wounded to his town. But a monstrous roar shatters the air. The town is under attack. A voice slices through panic. Everyone inside. The combat unit holds the line. Another roar. No end to the horde. This happened when Songwoo's away. He roars and plants himself between monsters and the helpless. He refuses to move. Then a heavy blow slams into his side. He barely chokes back a scream. And Kyung-soo blinks. A shadow rips through the sky and slams into the ground like a meteor. The dust clears. Songwoo stands there, eyes blazing with cold fury. He doesn't spare a single life point. The townspeople need him. Kyung-soo lets out a feral roar. He actually managed to hold the battlefield for fail. There were 3 of them, and he just remembered. A claw swipes and Kyung-soo screams Songwoo. Answers. Kyung-soo gasps as a massive skeletal hand smacks the monster away like a fly. Songwoo lands beside him, calmly thanking him. Kyung-soo groans but alive. Oh, he'll take it from here. He mutters he's in a very bad mood today. The monsters hesitate. They realize they're trapped. A cold smile spreads. He was just thinking about hunting stronger monsters for the raid, and they delivered themselves. He raises a hand, and behind him an army of skeletons claws out of the dirt.